Walter Payton owns that fucking time.
That or Jim Brown.
No, Walter Payton's the best all-around player I've ever seen play, and best running back.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, but then you also got to make what made Walter so great is what made Emmett so great. You never took him out of the red zone.
We'll talk about Green Bay not picking Barry Sanders, picking Tony Mankiewicz.
Yeah, what was it? The Incredible Bulk.
Yeah, I went to school with him.
Did you
So is
really?
that running then? Are you guys are on?
We're live.
Oh man.
I thought this is hockey. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I like Bret Hall.
Yeah, well, we're gonna. That's from another era. That's all right.
Same name,
That's good.
but
Yeah,
I think he spells it with 2 T's.
He does.
Yeah,
They left one of your teeth off.
Aaron Voros is my favorite hockey player.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll go through some hockey, but I think we're gonna talk a little bit about some fashion statements about whether tube socks are really fashionable or not.
Who's got him?
Well,
I'm not wearing them, okay?
Oh yeah, you got some.
One day I wear them. One day I wear them. I'm ridiculed by my wife. And
while we were doing the podcast.
While we're doing the podcast, she's online ridiculing me in public.
It's great.
And
That's what wives are for.
Where'd you get them though?
they're not the old school ones with the 3 colors and all
Oh,
that. It
no.
was just like Costco stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we'll do-
Kirkland's doing some great work in the sock business.
They absolutely are.
They're on top of it.
It's a good call.
They got
They've got the
Isn't that the
market
Costco?
on the
Yeah.
$4
Isn't that the
socks.
Costco brand?
Yeah.
It is Costco brand, yeah.
Costco brand, yeah.
What did you say?
Kirkland.
Kirkland is Costco.
But I'm saying, you said you got him at Costco?
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on that.
Hey, everything at Costco.
This kid doesn't know where Eric Hempel is and he's booing.
Yeah.
Do you know who Billy Sims is at least? Okay.
All right.
That was number 20 before Barry.
Of course.
So, Sean, should we tee it off?
Eddie Murray? You
Who
know,
was number 20 before Barry? Or before Billy?
Are you recording this?
Len
You
Barney.
should be.
Now you got me on that one.
It's gold, Jerry.
Yeah, that's right.
It's called Jerry. It's not a meal.
Ready? Sean?
By the way, I think you guys are we filming right now? Because you could save a lot of money if you got bigger waters.
Yeah.
I mean, these are.
You could put like 8 of these together. And you're good.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what we call West Coast Sip.
I guess you got I guess you got these at Costco as well.
Are they Kirkland? No, they're not.
Nah, these are Nestle.
All right. So, what I'll do too is I want you guys to talk about what you're up to. Because I saw you're gonna be in Tarrytown too. We have a huge New York listeners. There's a
Oh,
lot
man.
of, like the Long Islanders listen
Yeah.
to us actually because of
Because of the rain.
one of the yeah, we were on the podcast called Off the Post, which is a Ranger and Islander simultaneous discussion podcast.
Oh wow.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I was on for an hour with those guys talking about the Rangers.
And
the
your
Islanders.
team is the Penguins, right?
It's no, it's not.
He has 30 teams.
I like
So
the NHL.
who are your favorite ones on the East Coast?
Well, let's talk about it. I
Yeah,
want to get in. All right, ready? Welcome to the Dr. Hockey Podcast. I'm Dr. Jay Calvert, and I am here for a very special event. This is a big podcast. It's almost too big for this room. We're sitting in 112 degree heat,
With 112 waters.
and we have 112 waters. I have with me my co-host, of course, Dr. Jason Berkeley. Jason, thanks for coming in. How are you doing?
I'm good, and I do not have tube socks on tonight.
Well, we need to talk about your tube socks because we have some fashion experts here tonight.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have some guys that I just saw recently out in Huntington Beach and broke ribs laughing. It was too fun. I went twice. Went Friday night, Saturday night. Bret, Ernst. Bret, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. We're not doctors though, but we did go to a very prestigious community college.
Yes.
We have Bret Ernst, who's a consummate funny man, and of course Pete Giovine, who is also hilarious. I had a great time seeing you guys in Huntington Beach. It was really an outstanding show, and why there weren't 3,000 people there, I don't understand.
Oh,
Yeah.
It only sat 200.
That was the problem.
And we were competing with the state fair. I
Yeah.
think Steve Martin was performing that night.
Yeah, it was Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Was it at the fair or
Yeah,
at the
at the
amphitheater?
fair.
That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
you
know,
kidding me? I didn't even want to be at my show.
I mean, seeing Steve Martin with the banjo in the state fair would
Yeah.
be sort of classic.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's enough you're already competing with the fair, but then you have two icons. in
Now, if he's
comedy.
at the fair, was he actually at a pizza in a cup?
No, funny enough, he was just serving.
Great call.
Just deep fried.
I don't think he caught
Twinkies.
that. Did you
It's-
catch that?
Yeah, yeah.
Pizza in a cup?
Pizza
That's the
in a
best
cup.
pizza in a cup.
Yeah.
Right.
I just did the movie challenge.
Used to be cup of pizza.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's the best. I just did the movie challenge, which I nominated you for, which you have not
Yes,
partaken
you know,
in.
I realized too late that I.
Well, you got 10 days, but
yeah.
The Jerk was my first movie.
Was it really?
Yes.
So the movie challenge was put upon you by one of our former co-hosts, co-stars in Entourage.
Oh, yeah. Jerry used to host this with you?
No, it was Kevin Connolly started this with me, and hopefully we'll be back when he's directing a bunch of stuff in Puerto Rico.
I'm only here as a substitute. That's
Oh,
it.
wow.
No, he's a permanent
Yeah.
fixture, but he's a welcome guest anytime.
Well,
But
then-
Ferreira was the guy that put you up to it, right?
Yeah, but what's crazy is that instead of, they do the Kevin Bacon game, they should do the 6 Degrees of Mike Young.
That's true.
Is that how you met Connolly if you're young?
No, I haven't never met Connolly yet.
Oh, well, you
No.
know Mike Young.
I know Mike,
I know,
yeah.
yeah.
I love that you're filling in for Connolly. You've never met him. You're like this hired assassin.
I'm the other Darren.
Well, Connolly, we knew Connolly, I met him through Faye Resnick, who does like all the design for my offices, and she's a great friend, and she put us together because I said, Faye, listen, I'm doing this podcast. I need Kevin to come on. He's a huge Islander fan, huge hockey fan. If he could be my first guest on the podcast, I think it would really fly and be a great way to kick it off. And Faye, of course, said to me, there's no way I'm calling Kevin Connolly to put him on your podcast. I said, if you don't do this for me, we're never talking again. Forget it. And she goes, all right, I'll do it. And she called him, and she goes, okay, interesting answer.
Of course
He doesn't want to be your first guest. He wants to co-host it with you.
That's amazing.
And so I met him over at his restaurant at Goal to talk to him about it. And he goes, all right, let's just try it.
That's that go-get-em attitude that you need in Hollywood. He's like, yeah, no, I don't want to be a guest. I want to host it.
You know what that is? Those are guys in Hollywood that are tired of Hollywood and love sports, and that's all they want to talk about.
It's true. I mean, I'm a plastic surgeon, for God's sake. Jason does epidurals. He's a pain doctor. He's at Cedars-Sinai all day.
Oh,
And then we come
gotta
over.
talk to him.
We don't come over. That's right. We
I
can
know.
help.
I know about
guys?
to kick this off with our intelligence, but what the hell's an epidural?
Sorry, it's for if you have a disc herniation in your neck or your back. I do cortisone shots into the spine.
Yeah.
It's for severe back pain. He does a lot, sports injuries, all kinds of stuff. And I, tend to put in breast implants and fix noses and do
Yeah.
facelifts. So, and then we come over here and talk about hockey.
That's pretty cool.
We
Of
just
course,
love
that's
it.
what you wanted, though.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, talking about sports. If I came over here and had to talk about Botox, I'd probably just have to shoot Botox into my face. I couldn't do it. It's just not. It's not. After doing, I did surgery for 12 hours today, 2 nose jobs and a pair of breast implants, and then I'm happy to be here with you guys and chat about.
Do you ever high-five yourself after a good breast implant surgery? You know
I
what
usually
mean?
get
Like, you just,
high-fives
you're
from the
oh,
husband.
Those are great tits.
Yeah, the husband and I show them the on-table result, and they go, "Thank you."
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
That's amazing.
And then they give you the bill, then you give them the bill, and they're like, what the fuck?
Then they punch me in the face.
Dude, how much are her tits?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're fun for the whole family.
Yeah,
That's all I
that's
like to say. They really are. Everybody likes them.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But then we come over, love chatting about hockey. You said who's, Jason's always, what's your favorite team? You're a man without a team. And in a way, since I started doing this podcast, I've become much more of an NHL fan because we have people on from every team. We cover the playoffs.
But you have to go back also how this whole thing started, because you helped my wife out years ago. With a situation, actually, it was a real dire situation with her nose. It was such a bad situation. And as with every part of my wardrobe that I have, it's all Red Wing stuff, or Michigan State stuff, or Lions, Detroit teams.
Yeah.
And so I happened to be wearing a Red Wings shirt when I saw him. We started talking hockey. He said he was a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, and I didn't like you.
No, at that point, we were no longer friends.
Yeah.
It was immediately bad kickoff.
Yes.
But his wife was in a lot of trouble with the bad.
Did you almost throw the surgery just in case,
Just 'cause he's a Red Wings
He's a
fan?
Red Wings fan, yeah. I'll show him.
Red
I'll show him
Wings
too.
were phenomenal
Red Wings, huh?
on 94 hockey in Genesis.
Oh,
Sega
yes.
Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
God,
Yes.
everybody wanted to play with the Red Wings.
Totally, they had all the guys. It was
The 95 came up to the Devils.
Now, see, that's the team I grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
If I picked a team, if I was really into hockey, it would be the Devils. As a kid, my sister-in-law used to work in the front office, so we used to go.
No way.
Yeah, watch the Flyers and then just beat the shit out of each other in the 80s. That's all he did. That's all
They
everybody
did. They
did.
killed each other. The game is very different today.
Yeah.
But in the time when we were growing up, to go to a hockey game was like going to a fight, and then
Oh, yeah.
there was some hockey that happened.
And you
in
felt
between.
the energy, and you go to Brendan Byrne Arena or whatever.
That's right,
it was.
yeah,
That's
Brendan
what it was
Byrne.
like. You felt the energy. You knew there was going to be some fights on and off the ice.
Absolutely.
There was going to be some
Oh, in the
problems.
stands?
Yeah, yeah.
No, we're all
There
grew up.
is
We all
some
went to that. I
problems.
was in Jersey, but this is a 3-to-1 Jersey to Michigan ratio.
Yeah.
But I get credit, because
Get
I've
this guy
seen,
outta here.
I've seen Bruce in Jersey plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
in fact, you've seen Bruce an abnormally large number of
About
times.
178 or so.
Ah.
Really?
I mean, he's great.
I mean,
He's the best.
that's like almost a.
There's nobody better, I'm sorry.
I disagree.
I was a huge,
Stevie B.
Huge, huge
Expose.
freestyle music now. I love Bruce Springsteen. I love
Bruce
Springsteen.
and Bon Jovi and Sinatra.
You go see him.
That's like the.
I wasn't a big fan of that. Was it The Rising? That album I wasn't a big fan of.
No.
It was just Bruce just saying 9/11 buzzwords. It's airplanes, buildings, gray sky. And I'm like, dude, it's just, you know.
Well,
That wasn't a good one.
Just
That's very
ignore
true.
just ignore it happened because Pete didn't like it.
Oh, is that
They're
what
just
it-
buzzwords.
is it a good-
you know.
Favorite Bruce Springsteen album? Album, not song.
Oh, buddy.
Okay, not song,
Not song.
Album.
Favorite album.
probably Darkness,
I would probably say the same.
yeah.
I might have to agree with you on that.
Brett, you don't have one.
I'm learning
You're a
how to
Bruce
play
fan.
it.
I mean, I like his slow songs, man.
I'm learning how to play Adam Raised the King on the guitar, the solos, so
Oh, that's a good one.
that's what I'm trying right now, that's my
What's
goal.
your favorite Bruce song, if you have to narrow one down?
So hard.
I know.
So hard.
It's gotta be Born to Run, I think it's the greatest rock song
That's
ever
a great
written.
song.
It's such a great
I
song.
really think it is.
Yeah,
just-
it's.
He,
It's
it
sweet.
is. It's the greatest rock song ever.
I think it is, and I saw him in in Broadway just now, again, for the second time. I was sitting front row, this close I am to you right now.
Wow.
And it was just a very, a spectacular evening. I mean, he was just, I don't know, I can't
Bruce is
even.
like, hey man, you wearing tube socks?
Exactly. Calling security on me, hey, I recognize that guy.
A Red Wings jersey and some tube socks to go to
Hey, who is this
Wisconsin.
guy?
That'll work.
I don't know how my wife ever saw anything of me with two socks and Red Wings jerseys.
I think
You know, when I was born to run, I wear tube socks.
But
Are those Kirkland?
Kirkland is the purveyor of the best tube socks.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
It's, I mean, they're on top of it.
Used to be Gold Toe. Gold Toe
Yeah,
were the best
Gold
socks.
Toe was the one.
But now I think it's Kirkland has taken over everything.
Yeah,
Who's like the Detroit version of the Boss?
Bob Seger.
Eminem.
I would say the Motor
Well, for
City.
that kind of music.
Eminem.
For that kind
I
of
would
music,
say
though.
Eminem.
But I'm saying for that kind of music, for rock music, you know, it's got definitely
Well, I
Bob
know you
Seger.
had the Motown sound, but
Who?
all
You think Bob Seger?
Yeah.
well, he's born and raised from there, right?
Yeah.
What about the Motor City Madman?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him.
Huge fan. Great White Buffalo? Come on.
No,
All right.
no way.
Wait, you don't like his music, or you just don't like him?
I don't like it. I just don't follow him. I don't get into that.
Great White Buffalo is sort of a, that sounds like a political problem.
That's from
Yes.
Hot Tub Time Machine. Great with Buffalo.
Great White Buffalo is the first tune I learned to play on the guitar.
Great with Buffalo.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So you can't like if you don't like somebody, then you don't like their body of work, or did you not like his body of work and then hurt him?
I was never a big fan of his, and then when I heard some of this, I don't get too political in
No,
here.
that's fine. That's fine.
He's got lots of issues.
Oh, me?
No, the.
Oh,
the
him.
Ted
Oh, I
Nugent.
do. I know I have a lot of issues. I know that.
No, you do have issues, but I'm talking about Ted.
Ted,
Ted,
yes,
Ted.
yes.
He's got
There's
issues.
some other stuff going
Yeah,
on with Ted.
yes.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
makes
think
sense.
it's, I don't think it's just
It's,
political
it's
beefs.
unsavory.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think he's,
Speaking of savory, you know, after your show that you guys did, Chris and I went to the supermarket the next day and we were picking out our ice cream.
Oh,
And we 100%, like in the Gelsons had to reenact the entire thing. It was like, Chris, would you like Haagen-Dazs tonight?
what kind
Or
of
are
night
we
is
going
it?
for the chunky
Yeah,
monkey?
yeah, exactly. Is this gonna be like a nice romantic night, or is this like, you know?
He did this thing about ice cream, like, and while you're saying it, he's going like, who likes ice cream? Who likes ice cream? Oh, you like Haagen-Dazs? And Chris is like, yep, I love Haagen-Dazs. I like this. And she's going through all the reasons why she loves Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And then Pete, of course, says, well, this is what kind of night it is. You know, if you're gonna be making love, or if you want to, you know,
Yeah.
like so. It,
Haagen-Dazs is like making love, and Ben
No.
and Jerry's is like, he's
Yeah.
like, you know,
yes,
getting down.
Laying pipe.
Yeah,
it's the
laying pipe.
nasty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the nasty version.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So Chris and I go to the Gelsons, and she's just like, all right, are we getting Haagen-Dazs or are we getting Chunky Monkey? And we were cracking ourselves up.
Jay wants to keep this PG-13, I guess. So-
No, you guys can go.
No. It's good to know.
No,
It's
you
good
can
to know.
go. We have a beeper back there. We can take care of it.
Oh, nice.
No,
It's all
no.
good.
PG
Sean,
13 is
right?
great.
Is that air, Dave?
Yeah.
Or you could be a gentleman, get a nice manicure
No, we.
and eat gelato. In fact, smell amazing.
That's right.
Yeah.
The first guy that dropped the F-bomb on here was John Blue, actually, a
Yes.
pastor from
Yes.
Costa Mesa.
Wow.
He played golf. He played golf for the Boston Bruins, and he came on here and he just was like, he goes, I bet you didn't expect the F-bomb from the pastor. I said, I 100% completely expected it. And Sean was back there like
Yeah.
Put him out.
Well, his last name is Blue, so.
He's
Yeah,
John
yeah,
Blue.
yeah.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. It's all he knows.
I'd love to see him when he gets up in front of his congregation.
Right.
All right, this week, we had some fucking problems. We gotta
Yeah.
No, it wasn't me.
Bleep
It
him
wasn't-
out.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I'm just.
We should get a bleeper on our
Oh,
podcast.
no.
The whole thing would be
The whole
bleeped.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
is-
Right.
Oh,
Just
just
be
beep.
beep,
Yeah.
constant
Okay.
beeping.
So you guys are going to New York together, or you both do
No,
that?
just Brett's going to,
Brett?
Brett's going to
I'm
New
there
York.
Friday and Saturday.
You're gonna be in Long Island.
Yeah, I'm doing Governors in Levittown and then McGuire's in Bohemia, but it's all Governors.
Now, they must go crazy when you get there.
I got, I do well in New York.
I'm sure.
And New Jersey, and like most
Long
of it.
Island, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I went to school there, so.
Yeah, but the humor is just, it is straight from the home state. I mean, it's
Well,
really
like
great.
when we do Jersey, it's a lot easier because, I can do jokes on PBA cards and I don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's things that you just
Yeah.
reference.
I open up with jug handles in New Jersey.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we know.
That's right, everybody knows the
So you
same.
guys eat Taylor ham? Like, yeah. That's a simple.
I got
That's
15
right.
minutes on pork roll, egg, and cheeses.
Well, when I did Hasbrook
They
Nights.
don't even know what that is in
Yeah.
California.
I've never heard of that. Yeah.
It's Taylor ham is it's like in Jersey. It's you can actually get it, man. It's
Yeah.
Italian market by me, but it's like you get it with eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
And
famous.
by the way,
tonight for-
not a delicacy. It's not like
Oh,
you gotta
no.
go like hunting for this stuff.
No.
It's everywhere.
Well, out here, I mean, it's not as easy to find out here. There's places that you can
Well,
get.
the
it out
Italian
here.
deli by me. So
Yeah,
they-
Italian deli.
But now I
Farmers
mean,
Market on Fairfax has it.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they have it. They literally import it from Trent, New Jersey.
but that's what I was gonna say.
It's like this
saying-
old,
that's
that's like this
beautiful.
old timey Italian guy
Boom.
who's talking about the old country.
Is it actually saying imported from Trenton?
Yeah, yeah.
That's incredible. I gotta see
No, but
that.
what's hilarious is that like I found this Italian deli. I'm like, yo, hun, they import the Taylor ham. She's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, you can't get it anywhere. She's like, yeah, you can. Amazon.
Right.
Like I'm all blown away, but you forget you can order it online.
exactly.
They'll
No,
ship it
but
to you.
importing it from Jersey really
Yeah,
is
exactly.
hilarious. It's not like imported from the old country.
Yeah,
It's
would you rather get it from Giuseppe or Jeff Bezos?
I go with the Giuseppe.
absolute Giuseppe.
He's trying to put food on the table.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I'm gonna definitely go. Is he in the farmers market or in the?
No, in the farmers market on Fairfax, there's that one like sort of butcher, and they have the big pork roll, and then they have the mini one too.
I know
which
the
is-
guy.
which
I know
is-
exactly
yeah,
where he is.
It's great. Yeah, they have the small rolls there too. So if you just want to, it's good for for the bachelors out there. You can cut some up with your eggs. in the morning.
Just give it a shot if you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
strong. You put it on a sandwich,
Oh,
nice.
it's amazing.
Yeah, Taylor ham and egg.
Sandwich,
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
strong.
You believe me, if my dad listens to this right now, he's coming in town for my birthday.
He's gonna
next
be
weekend.
like,
he's gonna be like,
"We
we
gotta
gotta
go.
stop by the
Go to
farmer's
that
market.
farmer's marketplace.
He's in Hawaii now, like retired, like they don't have Taylor ham.
He's eating
and egg.
spam right
He's
now in
eating
Hawaii.
spam, yeah.
Spam and eggs.
That's right, they're not eating Taylor ham.
Does he live out there?
Not from Trenton either.
Yeah,
He does,
exactly.
he lives there permanently now,
That's a
but
lucky
he,
Good for
guy.
him.
It's a lucky guy right there.
he's done well.
Every
But
time I leave Hawaii, I just wonder why we don't all live there.
To,
You know,
to,
like, I-
so you can see the taxes, and
Yeah.
you're like, this is more
I'll
than
tell you
this
why.
is more than California.
It is,
Yeah.
it's
crazy
brutal.
out there.
He's retired and lives with his wife there, and he really put one over on this golf course. He took a job. He's 75 years old now. He got this job as a starter for the local golf course because the deal was, well, if you work here, you get to play for free.
Dude, that's like he's living every guy's dream.
It's
right now.
amazing.
So they were like, so do you want to know how much it pays? He goes, it really doesn't matter. And so I was like, when are they gonna figure out it's like the worst deal they ever made and
Yeah.
fire your ass because
It's-
you're playing there? Like, do you ever go home? Like anytime he's not working, he's on that
It's
course
amazing.
running
You
around.
guys golf?
I do.
I used to.
You don't, Pete?
I occasionally. I'm terrible, but I like going golfing.
I just drive the cart. I tried. I got that.
I just like taking a walk. It's nice. It's outside.
That's
you know?
all
I
it
got
is.
that Jackie Mason slice.
Oh, I could.
From Caddyshack too. Yeah, I tried a couple times, and I'm just like,
I can swing. It's a very mentally, I've never played a game where you really have to, it's such a mental, you have to have a focus. And even when you think you're doing everything right, the back of your head, as you're taking your backswing, you're coming, you're like, I'm messing this up, I know I am.
Is your
And
dad
it's
like,
just
is your dad like Carl from Caddyshack? Is
No,
he
but
really-
hardly. My dad
okay.
is, he is,
Yeah,
All right,
Rob, I
Rob,
know something
oh
for
my
the-
God,
for
he
the
is-
effort.
he's- Yeah, there you go. By the way, Jason will always try to throw in an 80s movie reference.
Oh,
So
we're
feel
all
free.
yes.
Have at
I
it.
like
You know,
it.
they're-
I'm stuck in the 80s.
Let's try and stump each other, because I
Yeah.
love this game.
That and Brady Bunch.
All right.
You'll win on that. You'll definitely win on that.
I do not know any Brady Bunch trivia whatsoever. I couldn't even tell you their names.
Yeah.
Well, that's our podcast. We do top 10 lists. Like, did we ever do top 10 80? Yeah, we did it
Oh,
with
yeah.
the guys that created
You
Karate
did.
Kid.
You
Back
Yeah.
to the 80s
With
movies,
her, John Hurwitz, wasn't it?
Yeah, John Hurwitz, all
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah.
See, we did our homework. You know, there's Jason digging in hard.
See,
on
but
the
also,
podcast.
I remember there were movies that came out, like Johnny Depp's first movie, Hot Resort.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you know,
What?
classic,
That's a great HBO.
classic Cinemax, these people are Cinemax
Yeah.
movies. Movies I'd watch scrambled on Cinemax.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
Yeah.
I know what's going on.
I was trying to, I remember trying to rub one out
Private,
to those.
Yeah.
Private Resort,
Private
another
Resort.
one.
Remember Young Doctors in Love?
Yep.
another
Private
one.
School for Girls.
Yeah, it was
Matthew
strong.
Modine was in that.
Matthew Modine.
Yeah.
What is
Phoebe
this?
Cates.
Put in the work.
Phoebe Cates.
Dude, she was like
The best scene ever.
in Fast
Fast
Times
Times.
at
Yeah.
coming out of the
Yeah.
pool.
Drop the mic.
Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't anybody knock it out here?
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great movie.
Oh, you're like 7 and watching that. You're like, you get
I was
you get
13, but
little
that's okay.
little boners.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself right now. I was 13 when that came out.
Yeah, no, I think that was.
Spring Break, classic
Break.
movie, and a good piece of
That's the one
trivia.
with the van. Remember that?
Yeah,
van
it's
down there?
fromage.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
I
But the
totally
cla-
remember that movie.
the
I
cla-
saw that movie.
Here's the-
I'm actually embarrassed.
Here's a
now.
trivia question. In the belly flop contest
Right, I remember that at
Okay.
at Penrod's. It was
at
on
Penrod's,
Fort
and you
Lauderdale
remember
Strip.
remember the guy who was the heavyset guy that got up there and smashed a beer can?
Yeah, then
That's Jeff Garland.
No.
Whoa.
Yep.
No.
Uncredited in the movie, and I ran into him at the car wash in Sherman Oaks, where I live, on Fulton and Ventura, and I asked him about it. He said they did not give him a credit, but I asked him about it, and he said that they wanted him to do some kind of promo thing for it years later. But he's uncredited in that movie, but that's him, Gut was his character's name.
that's a
That's
great
amazing.
that's a great little bit of knowledge.
Jeez.
Did you know Mike Young was in that movie?
Yeah, exactly.
I like that you like
And Kevin Connolly.
like
That's
that
what
you-
he meant.
you fact checked that with Garland.
I
Like, that
did,
was the
I've
question.
been dying to ask him that question for
Body
years.
of work in his career. You're like, hey, listen,
Yes,
were you in that scene? Was that you?
of all things.
And he's like, yeah.
How did you
can't
even
believe
know
you-
that
yeah.
that was him?
I know these things. I have so much useless information in my
He had a
head.
feeling.
Yeah.
He asked him on a feeling. He had a feeling it was him, and then he asked him when he had a chance to meet
Yeah,
him.
that's a strong.
How about this? We're at a Springsteen show in Detroit at Cobalt Hall, and we see the brother from Rudy, his name is Scott Benjaminson, standing across from us. Where will we ever get that name from? Where
Scott
would I pull that?
Benjaminson?
It was his brother from the movie.
That's a great list.
Yeah.
Top 10 worst brothers in movies.
Oh, yeah.
Paulie's up there from Rocky. He's
Oh,
like the
yeah.
worst brother ever.
The
Yeah.
worst, brother.
Yeah.
He's so bad, bro.
He could be
You don't
one.
want the bird that he's eating. It's
Exactly.
awful. What a horrible sibling.
Ah,
Terrible.
And the guy in Rocky, in Rudy, that kid was
Yep.
terrible.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
not supportive at all.
miserable.
Not
Yeah.
supportive at
Till the
all.
very end.
yeah.
I heard though that.
He needed Rudy to prove himself.
But
Right,
I heard
in
that
front of
Rudy. I heard that
thousands.
Rudy like still talks to the team every year, and it's like, is it me or is he milking that one tackle?
It,
Oh,
it
yeah.
could be.
You got one tackle, dude.
I
That's
know,
it.
listen.
And Joe Montana doesn't even remember you because he was talking about it in an interview.
Is that true?
Yeah, Joe Montana's like, hey, I don't think it went down like that.
Wait, I think I hear somebody coming from the student section. What is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Debo's there.
You know, some people do milk that one moment, like big time.
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying this guy
Yes, he's taking that
got
to a
his
different
scout
level.
team, his scout team playing that one tackle for
Yeah.
like he made a career off of that one tackle. That's strong. And because of guys like him, when you played sports, you know, not like you always had that Rudy Award for like
Yeah.
the
That's
kid,
right.
the kid that gets like that gives 100% but never sees the field,
Yeah.
and it's so awkward.
Nowadays it
He's
doesn't
also
happen.
like the
But-
equipment manager.
But when you play sports like, and then he tries to talk to the team,
But not anymore.
you know what I mean? Where he's
Because
like, "Come
all-
on, guys, it's our house." You're like, "You're not even on punt team, dude. Relax."
Nowadays, everybody plays.
Yeah.
They don't keep score. Everyone
Everybody
gets a
gets a
trophy.
Well, well, yeah, I know, but not in a
Nobody wins and nobody loses.
not in a good programs.
Well,
you
I
still
agree
gotta
with you.
earn it.
I agree with you.
You know, that's why I love sports, man. That's why I'll argue sports all day,
Absolutely.
because you can at least, you know, go and check it. Which this kind of ruined the fun of the barroom arguments, because now you can really research it.
But
No, that's true, you can pick it up pretty
Now you
quickly.
can't just wing it and
Which-
lie.
Yeah.
Which brings us back full circle to the fact that
That's
Jay
true.
doesn't have a team. See, the thing is, to have a real team, that you would live and die for, that you bleed for, that you cry for if they lose, that you just, I mean, listen, as I said before, I'm a Lions fan, okay? I've suffered long for my entire 48 years on this earth. I've never seen them win more than one playoff game, and I never will again. The Red Wings.
They did well in the
Red
'90s.
Wings,
They did good.
I thought
they
I'd
beat
never
the
see them.
Cowboys.
Well, I thought I never saw see the Red Wings win a cup. They've won 4 since I've been alive. The Tigers, I saw them win in '84 in the World Series. I was
Yeah.
at the game when
That was
Kirk
a
Gibson
bit- that
had
was a-
my home run that I called off Goose Gossage. So I remember these moments, and these are things that stick out in my mind.
And the
that
Pistons.
And the Pistons. I don't follow pro basketball as much anymore, but it's just
And Tommy Hearns.
Tommy Hearns, Motor City Madman.
Yeah.
I love Tommy. Matter of fact, a great thing happened to me. I was on call as a resident, neurology resident, at Botsford Hospital in Farmington Hills, where I grew up. And about 12:30 at night, I'm getting a call up to go see somebody about a possible stroke. Tommy gets in the elevator with me, out of nowhere.
Really?
And he signed one of my neurology textbooks that I had on me in my bag.
Dude, him and Hagler, those you don't see
Incredible
that
fights.
anymore.
No, not at all.
I'll tell you, are you a boxing fan?
Yeah.
I love this Lomachenko kid. He's phenomenal.
Lomachenko?
Yeah, this
Oh,
kid's
they made it.
Sounds like an after dinner Italian.
I was gonna say,
Hey, look who it is!
Steve.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
me! Look who came in. Look who's
Jeez.
here. They let anybody in here.
This guy's a mountain. This guy is a mountain. He's a human mountain.
Uh-oh, it's Dave, it's Dave
What's
the
up,
trainer.
dog? How you doing?
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
How are you, pal? Good to see you, dude.
Hi. Jason, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
That's my personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
And Chris is and Ace is there. Are you hanging out in here or what are you doing? It's warm here.
Yeah, it's warm. Lose a little weight in here.
That's
That's
what
what I'm talking about.
And there, and of course, there's my wife, Chris. Now, Chris was the
Hi, Chris.
person who did a class with Bret back in the day.
Yeah, years
It was
ago.
like, it was the
Leslie Kahn.
Leslie Kahn, right?
I had a,
We should talk to Chris
had a-
about Brett's monologues. How that went over in
I had a
class.
deal with ABC, and they threw me in an acting class.
Yeah.
And I went to that one.
Oh, that's a good one.
It was. I mean, I liked it. It's still useful, right?
Yeah.
You know, the thoughts behind you do things. I liked it.
Yeah, Leslie Kahn's like every actor that I talk to is like, yeah, you gotta get everybody into Leslie Kahn. Like that's where it starts, that's where it ends, that's the.
I just
he
wasn't
knows it.
good in class. I need coaching. Like,
Yeah.
I have a personal coach. If I got something, I can't do the class.
Yeah.
It's just too many people turning it into therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People crying.
And also, you have to sit through a lot of bad acting.
Well, I mean,
Well, they're
I
going to
just-
learn
I
though, aren't
just-
they? Isn't
I-
that the class?
I
yeah,
know,
but
but
here's the
man,
thing. If you
it's
like,
brutal.
I played sports. You know, it's one of those things where let's just get to work. I don't need compliments.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I
Yeah,
just
no, you
let's-
gotta
let's
do
go,
it.
Let me
let's
ask you this
go, let's
question.
go.
As a comedian, you're up there on stage. That's got to be one of the most loneliest things there is to do. What? And you're the only one they're looking at.
Listen, in
Yeah,
theory,
it's not
people
lonely.
who
You
do
got
comedy
company.
don't. It's people who watch it that think that, but that's.
Yeah.
But here's my question, because David Spade and other comics have always said this, that you have to bomb to really know where the funny things are, and
Yeah, well, you got to take risks.
how does that feel though? I can't imagine that I would want to run off stage.
Well,
I
Pete
can't
bombs
imagine.
all the time, so I wouldn't
Talk to
know.
the expert, is that,
Can you go ahead then?
He has this one good ice cream bit, and everything else is just downhill.
Bombing.
No, I think.
No, but it's, I mean,
You have to bomb.
you learn, yeah, the first time I bombed.
Well, we
the
got to
real-
define bombing, and that's the thing. Go ahead.
Well, the first time I bombed, it was on TV, and I was on a show called The Restaurant. It was an NBC reality show, and they followed me to a stand-up comedy show where it was like in a stand-up contest, and I started doing these jokes, and it was like, you know, about terrorism, and it was like in New York City in 2003.
Man, you
So-
keep bringing
Too
this up.
soon?
You had a problem with Bruce Springsteen doing it, and now you bombed. I'm glad you bombed for
The
it.
joke is
I'm sure it was
actually
something pro-America.
No, it
You
wasn't.
hippie.
But
Get a
anyway,
haircut, hippie.
but it was on NBC, and it was like on national, you know, big network television. And that was the first time I bombed. It was like,
Well, you know what? Wait, really quick. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just adding to this because
Yeah.
I would love to see this footage. But in reality shows, like if you bomb doing a set, they'll try and make you look better. But on a reality
No.
show, they're gonna make you look even
they were
worse.
like, dude, they looped the booze.
Oh, no, really?
So,
It was
so
amplified.
on,
How come I don't know
on
this?
the
This is the
stage,
greatest thing
dude,
ever.
like on the stage, like
Oh.
behind me is my name, Pete Giovine.
Oh
And
yeah.
so they just zoom in, and we hear this loop track of like, you can, you know, if you know audio, you can tell they're just looping it, and it's like, boo, 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 and just goes to commercial. And I was like, oh, this is the worst. And they just made it worse.
How long were you doing? We've been my host for 4 years. I don't even know this.
Really?
How long were you doing stand-up when this happened?
This was in 2003, so I started in like 2001 or 2.
Oh, you deserve this.
Yeah.
You
Because
had
I
no
shouldn't have-
business doing comedy on TV after a year.
No. I shouldn't have been up there.
Granted, we
No. I should have been there for the show, but for them to film it, like I was
brutal.
I told Mark Burnett, the producer, I was like, just send a crew down, it'll be cool, because
Yeah, dude, I can headline this. I guarantee you,
we
though,
got
Pete.
some gold on this.
Yeah, Pete, I guarantee you.
If I did well, it wouldn't have aired.
No, I guarantee you, they said to the audience, "Don't laugh and boo this guy. This is gonna be great television."
Now, granted, we don't do rounds on television, but Jay and I can relate to the fact that when you're rounding with a big team of students and residents and fellows and attendings, and they ask you a question, they single you out in front of everybody, you don't know the answer, or you're wrong about something, it is a horribly lonely
It is like
feeling.
getting torn a new one.
Yes.
That's for sure.
And especially when your attending comes in the next morning and yells at you, there's nothing, I can't imagine much worse than that.
The worst one I saw was, I'm not even gonna name her name because she's probably listening to this because she's in Pittsburgh, but she went up there and like explained this operation she did at the VA. And it like ended with her like with a face that like you could tell she's like waiting for it, and she goes, so we did a spit fistula, which basically means like we diverted the esophagus out of the neck and we put a G-tube in there and threw away the esophagus because it died. And this guy, Tony Udekwa, who is this like 6'2", Nigerian, proper speaking, had a British accent, he raises his hand, he goes, I have only one question. What century did you perform this operation? Because it seems like you're a time traveler and a fan of the classics. And then he just proceeded to like tear her apart.
I want to
And it was
interject with
rough.
this. Wait, hold on, Pete. Oh, go ahead. I wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, so did she actually do that surgery?
She did
I didn't know
this
you could throw
operation.
out an esophagus.
Okay, well, here's my thing though. This is where heckling should matter. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna do a life or death procedure, then heckling is productive.
Yeah.
If you're doing a joke and somebody's booing you
because
because
on butter.
yeah, and somebody's like, that's where you should go to hell as an audience member. But that's where heckling matters.
Yeah.
I support that.
Oh, it does matter. Trust me, you learn when you get heckled
It's constructive.
on the podium.
Yeah.
It is.
See, let's just get something straight here, and I say this all the time. The whole entertainment business in itself is just icing on the cake, and you know, we really don't have any. I mean, you can make a point that it's important to be entertained, but like I was on a flight, and some dude tried to kill another dude, and we had an emergency land, and they're calling for help. Like, is there any medics, any doctors, any cops? And they're asking for people, and that's when you know your job is fucking useless. When nobody was like, hey, could somebody do 5 minutes? You know what I mean? You're seeing like middle-aged women that are rushing to help, and you're just sitting there going,
So,
I got a joke about ice cream. You guys need help.
thanks everybody for coming tonight.
Yeah, hey, don't. Anyways, what's with this TSA?
Right.
I mean, did anybody have a problem getting on this flight? I'd say, you know, your profession's useless.
Yeah.
But I support the heckling of doctors.
Yeah.
Oh, we get heckled plenty by our attendings, even in the middle of surgeries or procedures, it's brutal sometimes.
Well, but is it just? I know you guys joke around. You gotta joke around.
No, this is not joking, this
No.
is like, yeah, this is
Well, that's what I was gonna
serious,
ask you.
yeah.
I'm saying I know you guys joke around, right?
Yeah,
When you're
yes.
doing stuff, but this you're saying this is like where they're like, "Yo, you effing idiot! Why are you throwing the esophagus?"
Okay, so, I was,
Mink, we could throw that in a gravy. What are you doing with that?
I'm gonna tell you a quick
We can
story.
we can fry that up, slice it. Tell everybody it's Galamad.
I was a fourth year medical student in Arizona, in Tucson, Arizona. And I'm not gonna say the doctor's name, I don't think he's maybe even around anymore, but, calls me up at 11 o'clock at night and says, we have a case, I'm gonna pick you up. Picks me up in his car, I had to move over trash bags of like McDonald's, no, I mean, it could be, it's McDonald's, so McDonald's and Burger King wrappers, and takes me to the hospital, and I'm not even planning on doing surgery. At 11:30 at night, we scrub in to do a bowel obstruction. He proceeds to then take, and wants me to hold the retractor a certain way, it was never the right way for him, takes the different pieces of feces out of the bowel and throws them at me in the middle of the surgery.
Like a fucking chin.
Like,
Yeah.
boom, boom. About 15 or
He's
so.
throwing shit at you. That's tremendous.
And I finally asked him, I said, is this part of the surgery?
He's like, no, I'm just doing some bits.
I didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
They do that.
He's just
like-
abusing you.
yeah.
This is what they think of your
That's-
surgery.
It was pure abuse. That's all it is pure abuse of the house staff. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that's for sure.
And we all
definitely
went through
took
it.
No, yeah.
It's bad enough you're removing shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Block shit.
Yes, it was. Fecal disinfections, all that stuff. Whoever the lowest one on the totem pole is, you're the one that gets to do it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to circle back to Pete's question, which I kind of glanced over, but yeah, how come you can throw out an esophagus?
Yeah,
Can't.
yeah.
They're like,
You
why?
can't,
Like,
it's not a good
what do
idea.
you replace it with?
Well,
And
he's
he's
gonna
Like a
have it.
PVC tube or
Yeah,
something?
like how does that work?
So to fix that, probably what they had to do would be a pull-up where you take the stomach, pull it all the way up
Oh
to the
my
chest,
gosh.
and hook it up in the neck.
A
But then-
pull up. That's a real gentle way of describing what that nightmare you just
Yeah, I
described.
don't know if you're describing. I don't know what you were just. I thought you were describing his socks again.
Yeah.
No,
It's sort of like
you could
that.
use a sock for an esophagus, I suppose.
You could.
Dude, I just, it's
PVC
just
pipe
amazing,
on,
man.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question for you guys. I know there's been a lot of advances in surgery, but are there things that has just stood the test of time, like some doctor figured out in like the early 1800s that you still use today?
I still do EMGs the same way they were done about 90 years ago, 80 years ago.
Okay, what's an
I'm
EMG?
sorry, electromyograms, they're nerve tests. And it was done with an old squawk box and a needle, and the same basic test, except for the fact we have computers now that can help us out with the
So
calculations.
what's it do? It shocks it?
Yeah, we shock the nerve and measure how fast the nerve is traveling, and also measure with a needle in the muscle how the muscle's performing, and we look for nerve injury. That's pretty much the same test for the last 70 years. I think it's pretty much the same exact test.
There you
There are some still things that they do. Leeches actually do help in some situations with some patients as well.
I'll tell you, my buddy Nassif puts those leeches on
Yeah,
those flaps on.
I saw that.
Watched all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
Because, you know, he's a pretty big fan. He's very aggressive about ordering. them.
Trains us.
Maybe it's just for, you know, shock value on TV, but I mean, we do use them when a flap gets congested because the blood can't get out. We leach it out until a new blood connection gets established.
Yeah, but it's really important to know that how a comic feels alone on stage.
But it's gotta be like you're on an island. If no one's laughing, you gotta be like,
You're
come
like
on.
such a loser. This side of the table made way different decisions after college
Yeah.
than this side.
It's bad enough he gets it at home. His brother's
Yeah.
like a congressman
Yeah.
with a house and a family.
Yeah, you gotta
And,
hang out
and now we gotta
doctors.
hang out with two doctors.
No,
Yeah.
so we're just, you know, just here talking about, well, we're not even talking about sports. I mean,
I'm more interested about the leeches and
well,
Yeah.
what, there's an
and throwing
operation.
away friggin' esophagus.
Yeah.
So there's an operation I do that was established in the First World War, when the guys got their noses blown off. When you take the forehead skin, we can turn it down, it's called the forehead
A pull
flap.
down.
It's
Okay.
like a pull down. So you turn this down, you close the skin together, and when the skin sits there like a bucket handle for 2 weeks,
There you go.
establishes a new blood supply on the nose, and then you divide it, throw away the bucket handle with the esophagus into the gum line. And then you
No,
get,
but what do you use for this part?
we use rib cartilage or bone.
Okay.
And so you can make all the hard tissues with rib cartilage or bone, and then you cover it with the forehead flap. And a guy named Sir Harold Gillies, who's kind of my hero of surgery,
Uh-huh.
established that in the First World War.
He was
He
good,
led-
that guy, Sir,
Yeah, he's
Sir
good.
Galahad.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
great.
Not only was he good,
Yeah,
but then
he's
he,
going.
but then he
He
was
know-
around for the Second World War. So he got to like perfect it even more because there were plenty of, you know, faces being blown apart.
Yeah, he's like that's like a surgeon's dream.
Now
to
what
live-
happens-
Live through 2 world wars. This guy's like.
So wait, I got a
amazing.
question. So they flap the forehead down,
Right.
right? You take the rib, you put it in there,
Yep, so.
and then you take it back and put it up here.
You just divide the bucket handle, you've closed the forehead.
All right, so you stitch that
This
up.
part just goes thrown away, and
Yeah.
it's trash. And we still do that today for skin cancers, trauma, all kinds of stuff.
Now, when you guys throw this stuff away, like, which
They make soap with it. Brad
It
Pitt
doesn't-
comes
it
and
doesn't
picks it
go
up.
like- which trash can does it go into?
The red bags, you know,
Okay,
it definitely
right.
goes in the red
Okay.
bags, they get incinerated.
Okay.
Don't,
So this
don't
is
eat
you're not
from
gonna
them.
find this in the back of a dumpster.
You don't wanna find, if you
Cedar
find it in a
cyanide.
dumpster, go the other way.
Now,
that's all I
Pete,
can tell
Pete
you.
had a question for you that he asked me. He was afraid to ask you. How much would it cost to remove all that hair?
Well, first of all, that'd be a fire hazard.
Yeah.
So, you know, we need to.
We just the triceps alone.
Well,
Forget it.
I have a question for you, doctor. We'll do Bret first. What would you
Good
like?
you see that
no,
redirect?
Let's say the gods of, you know, plastic surgery were like, listen, you got to do a procedure on this guy's face. You have to.
I need my nose fixed.
What
It's
would
been
it?
broken.
What would you do? what would be the first thing that you would do with this face?
Me?
Yeah.
Surgically remove the eyebrows. That'll take 2 weeks.
I think, no, I'd probably hide under the sofa. Would be the appropriate move. I think run away, go the other direction. No, I wouldn't do anything for him.
Yeah,
I mean,
what are you
unless
talking about?
He wants
no,
something.
I'm joking because like I went to see our friend Dr. Deere about my what do they call it, deviated septum.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, we can do the simple one, or we can do the one where I lift this whole thing up and then I can straighten your nose out. And he was saying all this stuff about my nose. I was like,
What's
and
wrong with my nose?
I don't know. Like we're guys, like we're
No.
idiots. Like I don't know. I didn't realize I had a nose problem.
You don't.
But
I didn't even notice my wife cut her hair. No, I'm dead serious. She had short hair. She's like, do you notice? I know she dyed
That's
it.
the worst.
But I was like,
But then I said,
Oh,
alright, go ahead.
I
I'm sorry.
blow that
no,
one all
but
the time.
do
This is
plastic
right there.
do plastic
That's it.
surgeons do you have in your head like something that you could always do to someone's face or no?
I don't. I don't look at anybody.
What does that even mean?
What has to happen is somebody
Like,
doesn't come in
this
and
is
Like
say,
if you
I
just
wanna
come
just-
in looking normal and then you're like, oh, I just want to do something.
Jay
to your
does go.
face.
Jay does go to public places and try to drum up business, make fun of people.
Hey,
He's like an ambulance chaser.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey, nice to meet you. You got
Wait,
horrible hair.
elephant nose.
you're not that symmetrical.
Yeah.
hey, nice man boobs, buddy.
What's
Here's my
up with
card.
that bottom lip?
Yeah.
No, you don't do
There's
this.
a lot of material on shins. Yeah.
Well, you must make a killing in this town, dude. Everybody has something wrong with them. Or they
Well,
think they do.
you know, the thing is that people, like what I've learned is that everybody is pre-op. Like everybody's thinking about having some operation. So
Yeah.
everybody.
And
needs
I
to do
imagine
something.
once you open that door, it just
Yeah, I mean, if you get good results, forget
You ever
it.
talk
You're in.
people out of it?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time, because you don't want to do stuff that isn't going to be, a success. You want them to have great results. So when people say, "What would you do to me?" and it's like nothing. I get you a cup of coffee. But if you say, "This bothers me. I'd like to do something about it," then I'll look at it very critically because I think everybody looks fine.
Yeah.
I don't look at people that way. You know, I always am asked that question. Do you look at everybody and think, "What can I do to this guy?" I never do. It's like the last thing on my mind because you don't want to just operate. It's surgery. for
right,
God's sake.
yeah.
It's a
elective.
big deal. Yeah, it's like a huge deal. to
Yeah,
operate
man, you
somebody.
gotta open somebody's nose up. What if something happens?
That's right.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, anything could happen.
I don't.
You'd be a great doctor.
No, I'm just
He's
saying.
like,
Look,
anything can happen.
let me show you. I got these ribs right here. See how this is protruding? I got
Oh,
the
man.
shippy out
Is
of
that
me.
from a fracture?
Yeah,
that's
Let
a
me
good
heal,
one.
and my nose has been busted up, and I'm fine. I
That's
don't want
right.
to touch anything.
No.
What are you gonna do?
Leave it
You're gonna
alone.
crack it open and then throw out my esophagus? I'm good, man.
You'll lose a lot of weight that way, if you'd like. It's a radical way to
It
go
is,
about
yeah.
it, but without an esophagus, I think,
That shit scares me, man.
Yeah, it should.
Not just surgery.
Yeah,
alone,
yeah. Like I don't know, and I don't see how people. I know there's people that are addicted to it. I see them on TV, man.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know?
yeah, you see people that just go and go and go.
Like Michael Jackson, that was just too much, obviously, right or no?
Oh, I think.
Like his
he
little
barely
nose
had a
got all
nose.
banged out.
I don't
yeah.
think he had a nose.
So once
Yeah.
that happens, there's nothing you can do, right? He just kept wanting to fix it.
He could have had a forehead flap and a rib graft.
He could have.
Yeah. I mean, that
And Doc,
call-
that's your specialty, right? Kind of fixing, cleaning up after other people's mistakes.
I mean, that call came in one day, and I said, you know what? And I'm not gonna say who called me or whatever, but I just said, you know, my reputation can't handle that patient. right
Yeah.
now. It was in 2006, and I was just like,
No way.
Here's a question:
No chance.
Who gets more nose jobs, Jews or Italians? It's the toss up there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do nose jobs on a lot of ethnicities, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, but Jews and Italians are gotta be
Yeah.
fighting for number one.
Exactly. Well, if this is the East Coast,
it's a
it would
tough
be.
call. It's a tough.
We-
call.
You'd
we
have
got
like
the
a
same nose.
billion Lombardos and
And Goldsteins.
yeah, Goldsteins.
Yeah, you know, the big nose is a big nose. So, you know, you gotta do them. It's, I got a lot of nose jobs from a lot of different, and, in this part of the world, people don't mind having rhinoplasty. So they wear their splints around and tell all their friends, and so once you get sort of
They
into
brag
the-
about it, huh?
Yeah, once you do a good job for one person, then like especially if they're, Italian or Persian, then
Yeah.
if you don't go to their doctor,
Oh, yeah.
then you're the biggest idiot that
I
ever
got a
walked
guy.
the earth.
Go to my
That-
guy. He's
That's
the
right.
best.
So
Like,
my cousin just got out of med school, and he'll fix your nose. You can look unbelievable. You come out with a great nose and cologne samples. Now, is there such thing as a penis enlargement operation? Is that for real or
Well,
not?
there are plenty of operations, but few of them work.
But there is such a thing.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, one of the
But-
worst grand rounds I saw was at Stanford, and they were going through the complications
Oh,
of a
gosh.
penis
God,
enlargement.
see,
and
that
it was
one, I don't understand
rough
that.
to
man.
watch. I don't have a problem looking at a lot of stuff. This one got me.
Oh,
looking-
man.
Well, like I
That's
was like,
terrible.
ugh. And what they had done
I'm
is they
screwed.
tried. They cut the
No, I mean,
suspensory ligament.
Unless you have like a micro penis, what would be the?
You can do stuff for micropenis. And by the way, I don't do that, so don't come flying in my office like, oh, you can do something about micro. I don't. There's a guy named Gary Alter, who's the guy to do micropenis, and he can take very, very bad problems and really help these people. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
Wait,
what
you
he
spell,
does.
how do you spell his last name?
Alter, he's an incredible surgeon, and he does stuff that you just go like, that is life changing for that guy. 'Cause,
He's
I mean,
altered.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Oh,
really
wow,
good.
that's
Yeah,
seriously
see,
good. That's a
see?
great bit.
Thank you.
But Gary was trained as a urologist and then did a full plastic surgery residency, so he's like the man. And
So
he's
he
in
knows-
Beverly
he knows what
Hills.
he's doing.
I'm happy to plug him.
Now, how
Please
did
don't
you
come to
see
my
his
office.
work? You guys like hang out afterwards? And
LA,
just,
Like,
like,
yo, you gotta
swap
see, you
photos?
gotta see this dick I
You
had
gotta
lunch
see
today.
this dick.
Maron.
So he was
Pete,
like-
not for nothing, Pete's gotta go the other way.
Yeah.
He's gotta get some inches shaved off that thing.
I'll get a reduction.
That thing's,
You can
that
help.
thing's insane.
That's right.
It's
And
not even you.
congratulations, it's good.
Yeah.
The Alter's amazing though, right? We saw him at the LA Society, he just presented grand rounds, and he went through like, I mean, probably 50 cases that were just truly mind-blowing. I mean, I don't even know how he does it, really. They're very difficult cases, you know, there's like nothing there, and then he like
Make it.
does all this stuff, and all of a sudden, you know, there's the penis, and he gets
Wow.
it out from, you know, God knows where, from
His-
under
his
the ground
forehead
somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got
I
to
just do a pull down.
This is the
There's a
Dr.
pull up.
Hockey
What he
podcast.
does is he,
Yeah, I
And
know.
now it transfers over to the penis.
Well, you know, look.
Yeah, let's
these-
talk
These
hockey.
are things that guys wanna know.
Let's-
Have you done any hockey players' noses? Because they get beat up big time. I mean, after they're done playing.
but I think they wear like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Box-
don't fix their noses.
No,
man.
Why
there's
not?
just-
Why
no
would
point.
you? You earned
Next
it.
season will get- they'll
You
get broken
earned
again.
it.
No, I'm just
No
thinking.
way.
I'm just thinking if they were, retire. I'm just thinking like after.
Even when they're done, they don't come in for that. They will come in for septoplasties, get their breathing fixed like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But they don't come in to pretty
Badge
it
of
up.
honor.
How does vagine reconstruction work, like with the vagine?
Well, that just depends on what the problem is.
Right,
I mean,
so
you know,
that-
tighten it up afterwards.
Really?
You know, after the babies, we do a lot of tightening.
Rejuvenation.
We do a lot of yes, we do, a lot of
We
rejuvenation.
do a rejuvenated vagine, like mean.
Yeah, no, we do a lot. We actually have a laser now that tightens things up. It's very popular. It's called
Wow.
the FemiLift. It is a CO2 laser. You have a probe that looks like a dildo, and you put it in.
Wow.
And you just shape it around
And
it?
then you go around, you laser the vagina,
Wow.
and it does tighten up.
So,
Very significant.
what do you think about them enlarging the goalie crease?
Well, there's a technique for that as well.
That's,
So you're number one sports hockey. That's your number one.
yeah,
sport.
yeah, I'd say absolutely.
We're insane in hockey.
Yeah.
See, I wish I got into it, man.
We have
I
we do a
loved it.
playoff game.
But see, no, the thing is, I'm a sports fan, you know, but like I just love football.
Well, I love
know
football
everything
too.
about it.
I mean, I love football too. When football's on and Sundays and
I
Mondays,
like
it's just.
football.
It's the best time of the year.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
The first time I went to a hockey game, a live hockey game, I was really taken by
Well,
that.
that's what I was gonna
That's
say.
a
The
good
first
time.
time I went,
It was
as a
amazing.
kid, I didn't really appreciate it. Then we had a friend of ours. Did you come with me with Butchie and the kid Jason when we went to the Devils and Kings
No.
game? And then you're watching it now. You know, from now I got a whole different respect.
Oh,
You know, it's just a better game as an adult.
It's a ballet on blades with massive guys knocking the hell out of each
Well,
other.
you got
It's
the
really-
hand-eye coordination.
Yep.
You got the constant moving like there is in soccer and
Right.
basketball. You got the collisions like there is in football. Then you got the fighting like there is in boxing. Do they
Fighting
still fight like they
is
used
Yeah.
to?
the rule book.
Yeah.
You
And then
fight
you
all
have
you want.
icing.
And then you have the ice capades.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's why I mean, I asked one of the players we had on before if it's a tougher sport than football, and I do think it is, just because of not only the way that they take these hits, but the fact there's 82 games in the season.
82.
As opposed to,
But it also depends on the position. Like
No,
an
they're all-
offensive lineman is literally every play
but it's
is
one,
a
it's
10
one game
mile
a
per
week.
hour collision.
It's one game a week, that's the thing.
Yeah, but it's every play.
Well, no, they're not playing offense and defense.
But
They're
I'm,
playing half the game.
I'm saying every play though they're colliding.
Yeah.
There's not one play where they're not getting because that's why the concussions are so high.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Concussions are the huge issue.
But
I mean,
like
that's-
if you get a receiver, he's barely gonna get hit.
Listen, as a neurologist, I don't do general neurology anymore, but I can tell you, our brain is sitting, it's like a big jelly mold, if you will, sitting inside of a jar. And it has to go somewhere when it gets hit, and it gets jarred from one side to the other. You can get bruising on the back of the brain from getting hit in the front. It's a very scary
But
situation.
I don't think the league really. I heard a theory on this, whatever. But that the league became more concussion friendly after like fantasy football became so lucrative. So like they opened up these offenses and made it these high scoring, high playing games with these rules to
Well,
keep
they changed the rules
fantasy
now.
football going.
They changed the rules now. They also geared the defense, you know, the defensemen
But then the
are.
class action shit
Yeah.
happened and they're just trying to.
That's
leave
where the
lawsuit.
problem is.
Yeah.
It's with the legal issue. Now, you don't see as
Cause I
many.
had 3 in college,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Concussions or kids?
Concussions.
Okay.
You hear about concussions in hockey, obviously, and it's become more on the forefront. They have little protection compared to football helmets. But by and large, most players in the sport of hockey, especially pro hockey, tend to respect the game. You get a few guys that just don't care.
Right.
Throwing an errant elbow, someone's coming across open ice and just knocks
It's
the guy
definitely
out.
way more violent than football,
It
that's for
is,
sure.
that's the thing. And
Oh,
so,
yeah, the hits are way worse.
Yeah,
you know.
and they're coming at you at like
but here's the funny thing.
20 miles an
20,
hour.
20, 30 miles per hour.
Here's the ironic thing. So everyone in football makes a big deal about concussions. They have these helmets and everything else. Then you go to hockey. They have helmets. They say don't make these hits above the shoulders, on and on and on. Then you go to boxing. The sport, the goal is to induce a concussion
Now,
and knock him
that
out.
was
I
my
don't
next. That
understand
was
that.
going to be my next point.
Yeah.
But you can't class action suit a boxer.
No, you know
so
what you're
nobody really
getting.
cares about it. And you know, and again, it's
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't think they care. as much
That's
as
the
everybody's acting like
the
they care.
intent is to hurt the guy's head.
Absolutely. So
That
knock
doesn't-
somebody out.
Right. That doesn't make any sense.
And
to
I
me.
heard that like women's soccer has one of the highest concussion rates. in
Hitting the
sports.
ball.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
they don't mess around. Women's soccer is like one of the.
Well, I heard that they
at the
don't like
college level,
because
it's
of the
like
neck muscles aren't as you guys would know if this is true or not.
I don't know.
But they can't absorb the hits like a man can because it's just not as absorbent. So
I don't know.
Oh, here we go.
Well, hashtag me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a break for a minute.
I'm outraged.
I am too. I for one feel.
Hey, listen,
harassed.
man, I got no problems with if the science
feeling-
backs it, I'm fine
It's
with it.
also a very rough.
I'm feeling
sport.
very
Women's-
uncomfortable at this moment.
Yeah. It's
Women's soccer it's one of the most violent games I've ever seen
Well, it's
live.
just-
Well, they're intense. They're intense players. They're
intense.
intense athletes, and
Well, they're
and-
playing for pride at least.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, dude, when you watch women's sports in like in the Olympics, they're all playing for like they're just want to win a gold.
You bet they do.
The basketball team
Women's
is
hockey
it's
is
something to
amazing.
do.
But here's the thing: if you look at women's sports and you look at college sports in general, they're playing for the sport itself.
Right.
That's the bottom line. There's no major large contracts, unfortunately, for the women to wear for the men.
But that
College
wouldn't be
athletes-
fair either because the men's football is everything to a university.
Oh no, I get you. But my point is though is that
the
they're-
money's insane.
But I mean, like
It's
the women's hockey teams, the college basketball teams, these guys are playing, these women are playing for the sport.
absolutely.
They're playing for a future contract potentially in the pros, but they're not playing for that extra money. You know, there's a lot more leeway in the pro sports. They're playing for the money. It's
Oh,
a business.
absolutely.
It's
That's
complete
why the
business.
women. I love watching them. Play.
They're giving everything.
But like women's fighting, women's soccer is dope. I never watched women's hockey. Women's basketball is kind of hard to watch because the athleticism is just, it's not comparable. Like in other words, when two girls are
different sport.
fighting, yeah. Now if you're watching women's basketball, it's like watching white guys in the 20s. There's no dunking. There's just bounce passing, and not saying they can't ball. But I'm saying it's a different sport.
It's just a
Whereas
totally
you watch
different sport.
female soccer and male soccer, it's the same sport.
Well, I don't watch soccer, period.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
hard for me to watch.
I
Soccer.
can't watch.
I don't like watching
I
grown
love the
men cry.
World Cup, man.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
Now that's where the women that when you talk about bullshit, those girls, they didn't get because it's not like both teams are making the same, are bringing in different income, right? That's where they should be. I think the women should be paid more. We didn't even qualify. this
I'm
year.
watching The Bachelor over soccer.
That's
I'm
such
sorry.
that's so awful.
Yeah, I have to.
Italy and America did not qualify
I know.
for the World Cup
I know.
this year.
So I think teams.
It's disgusting.
That's pretty rough.
So
You
that's
watch
Pretty
soccer?
bizarre.
what's that?
You watch
pretty
soccer?
bizarre.
Oh yeah, I do watch soccer.
Yeah,
I
really?
I like watching soccer.
I love it too.
Yeah.
You Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or
Well, I grew up
Bachelor,
playing. I
any
grew
day
up,
over that.
I grew up playing soccer, so that might have something to do
Oh.
with it. But and then I've been to like I don't know if you guys have been at any. Well, you guys probably have never been to like a real soccer match in England or something like that. It's like
Never been. I
it's-
bet it's really
It's unbelievable.
I watched the movie Green Street Hooligans.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Yeah, phenomenal movie, and it scared the hell out of me. I won't go to a game in Europe after that movie.
Dude, I went to a Manchester United game years ago, and it was a year that Beckham was still playing for them. They already had clinched the FA Cup, and it was like 84,000 people in Old Trafford, and we were like a couple of rows off the pitch. A friend of ours hooked us up, who actually played for United, and I never experienced anything like it. To hear that many people just singing in unison, like.
Now, here's a game I
it
don't
was-
get, is cricket. If your game can last 5 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with, like, I love baseball, but Jesus Christ, it's like, you
Yeah.
know, if you're playing on a Wednesday and you can lose 70 games and still make the playoffs, it's like every day, you know, it's like, not till you
They
get
play
to,
all the time.
all the time. So yeah, we had a game at 2 o'clock, but, you know, once you get to October, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
Or I think baseball's the best to play, I love playing it. Can't watch a game that doesn't mean anything.
Isn't that funny though?
On
We love
TV.
playing.
But if you're
Yeah.
watching it, if you're watching it at a stadium, it's
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yes,
It's a great time.
I have trouble watching it on TV as well, I agree. And golf too, I can't watch golf. on TV.
Hockey is a long season though. Hockey's like NASCAR. You guys got like, how many months off is hockey? Like,
3. It
three.
finishes in June and basically it's
You
October.
can watch two. I'm not a purist, so you guys can correct me on this, obviously. But you can watch 2 teams that aren't that good in hockey, and it'll still be good to
Yeah.
fun to watch.
I watch
Absolutely.
amateur
Talk about it all
hockey.
the time.
Amateur hockey
Yeah.
is entertaining. I'll go see my buddy who plays in like a local league in Chicago, and I'll be like, this is great. Like,
Oh, I know. It's
it
great
doesn't
fun.
have to be a professional level. I enjoy it.
I was in Dubai and I watched a game, you know, it was the Dubai Camels versus the Al Ain
Sands,
Scorpions or
yeah.
something, and it was
The Camels
awesome.
versus the Sands.
And it was all guys who were living in Dubai, who played in, you know, in Slovakia and,
Yeah.
and Sweden and Canada and Russia, and they all have these teams in Dubai, and
Yeah.
they get together and
But
it's
see,
fun as hell to watch.
here's the other. This is also why I think football may be a little bit more violent. Is you can't play after a certain age. Like I even watched it. There's men playing in their 40s that are still knocking it around. I mean, obviously they're not as good as they were in their 20s.
You mean hockey?
Yeah, but in football, like
Come
after
on, Tom Brady.
he's a
Yeah,
quarterback.
he's
He's a
an
quarterback.
outlier. He's such an outlier.
I'm saying is that
Most of
you
the guys
know,
at 30, they're done.
They have like a 4 year stint. Everybody gets.
No, yeah,
gets
and
it.
there's older.
Got people rolling
There's
on
more
your
people I
knees.
know that are you know that don't play professionally that are in hockey leagues than there are that play like football and
Well, yeah, you
football
can't
leagues.
play in a. I mean, there are the men's football leagues, but it's like it's just.
Yeah, they gotta play
Soccer
flag.
and hockey are there's such a recreational older
Basketball too,
population of
baseball.
people that play it.
That's why I wish I played baseball, man. I wish I played took it seriously. I just focused everything on football.
Well, you know, baseball's a tough one though, because it's like, you know,
That's real skill.
It
You
is,
said the
it's
hardest
tough.
thing in the world is to hit a baseball, right?
I think so. I think
One
it's
of-
brutal. So when I got to Vanderbilt, because I went there for undergrad, I walked on, made the team, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's great. So we're gonna work out at 5 a.m. You go to your classes, and then we'll be back here at 2 o'clock." I was like, "Well, I got a lab at 2 o'clock." They're like, "Dude, there are no labs. You want to play on this team? That's that." I said, "Well, I got to
Do
do
you
my
want to be a
lab."
doctor or have some
That's right.
minor fame in your college years?
That's right. So I was like, "Well, I'll see you guys later."
You want to build a career, or just say you're on the team and try and get laid at a frat party?
Yeah, I was like, "No, I'm out. Done." So that was it. I lasted 2 weeks, and it
Good
was over.
choice, Doc.
Thank you. And
Good
you
choice.
know what? I'm not sure where any of those guys are today that were walked on the team with me, but
So when
Exactly.
Patrick Swayze ripped that guy's throat out in Roadhouse, that was real.
Love
You
that.
could
Yeah,
rip,
yeah.
you could rip a guy's
You know,
esophagus
did
out.
he throw away that esophagus after he ripped it out?
it depends which century he did it in. Really. But, no, I mean it's. I don't think you can do that. I think that's.
You talking about Dalton?
Yeah, that was great.
I thought you'd be bigger.
What was it?
That was Roadhouse.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
real
yeah.
nice.
The double
There you go.
deuce.
I love Sam Elliott in that. What a
Yeah.
strong mustache.
Yeah.
We have like 5. We could do 5 lists. We could do top 5 mustaches of all
Oh, yeah.
time.
Raleigh fingers.
Raleigh's strong. Raleigh's
Raleigh
really strong.
Fingers
Burt
was
Reynolds.
great.
Well, you got Burt
Burt
Reynolds,
Reynolds.
Magnum, Sam Elliott.
Sam
Raleigh
Elliott's
Fingers.
up there.
But now every hipster in Brooklyn has a Raleigh Fingers.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
cut it
Well,
off.
talk about the best man bun then.
Is there
Or
such a
is it
thing?
right? I was gonna say, is there such a thing? Very good.
You know what I love about hockey too is that the mullets. It's
Oh,
such a
yeah.
strong look.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they use. Oh, that's a great movie. Is Slap Shots.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
there
should
you
have
go.
put that in my
Yeah,
top 10.
that's a great movie.
The brothers, what are they?
Hanson Brothers.
Oh my
yeah.
God, they're the.
Did you,
that's the
are you done? Are you done with the top 10?
yeah, well, I'm in my final stretch, and everybody knows my top 3.
Yeah.
I just put Goodfellas in today. I got 2 more.
We know it's coming.
We know the other 2.
We know it's
What are the
coming.
other two?
Well, it doesn't matter. Everybody knows
You
Godfather.
got the Blazing
Rock.
Saddles.
No, I did actually. Somebody did Young Frankenstein, but
Okay.
I did The Jerk. I did Airplane. I did History of the World from Mel
Oh
Brooks.
yeah.
So great.
History of the World's great.
Awesome. History of the World is just killer.
You know what's sick
Unbelievable.
too?
Push the mulled wine.
You know what's sick though is the show of shows, which aired in the 50s and 60s.
Sid Caesar. And,
Their writing staff was Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, Sid Caesar,
Yep.
Neil Simon,
Yeah.
Woody Allen.
Oh my
I
God,
think Imogen Coco was on that as well. It was just this
It's
who's
a dream,
who,
yeah.
that's amazing.
and that's why that show was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was, from what I read, it's kicked off the sketch era, so
Yeah.
to speak. But just imagine that line
Oh,
in
dude.
a writer's room.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well, that's the best of the best right there.
Yeah,
And
that's a
all
good
the
movie
honors.
too. Best of the best. Generic karate movie.
There you go. You can go all day. on
Did you
this.
like Cobra Kai?
I loved it. I was so excited it was coming out, and then when I watched the first episode, I couldn't stop. Couldn't stop watching.
They,
Yeah, phenomenal.
Jason was talking about it all along.
they nailed it out of the park.
But here's the thing.
the writers really nailed
They
it.
did
out of the
they did a
park.
phenomenal job.
Heavy
of it.
execution in it and everything. They did
But
great.
here's the thing. If you go back and watch the original Karate Kid movie, Daniel LaRusso was a dick.
I disagree.
Yeah.
He's
I
hear
disagree.
that.
he's the real bully. I'm sorry. He's the
No,
real bully.
he's
I've
not.
seen this on the internet.
Yeah,
I
I'm a
know
Johnny
this
Lawrence fan
argument.
now all the way.
He's not though.
He is.
He just moved from
He's a
Newark,
new
get a
guy.
sickle bomb. Everybody
no,
take
no.
it easy. That's my cousin
He's
you're
a new-
talking about.
Exactly. Right. You'll lose your job.
I already lost it.
He's a new kid in town. He tries to steal the guy's girl.
Yeah.
He punches Johnny first in the face. Johnny kicks his,
Whoa,
kicks his ass
whoa,
at the
whoa,
campfire.
whoa,
At the
whoa.
campfire.
Johnny threw him and then he stole.
No,
him.
he threw the radio.
Okay, but still,
And Danny
they
hit him in-
squared up. He didn't.
They
steal.
squared up.
All right.
Show a man's radio, man.
Well,
I'm
right.
saying.
Yeah,
And he
bad
stole
choice.
his girl.
That's a
He
bad-
stole
He
Allie.
didn't steal anything. They weren't even dating anymore.
Uh,
He was a
What,
psychopath.
his
They was on a
daughter?
break.
Right, he was with
Yeah.
friends. Come
It's a
on.
Ross and Rachel excuse.
Then he puts the hose on Johnny in the bathroom.
Yeah,
turns
but
the
that's
water on.
that's that.
No, no,
There's
no,
some
no, no.
time.
He
There's
asked
some
for it.
It's
time.
a good bit.
He asked for it.
I doubt that.
Mr. Shower. Make a shower. I'm gonna
Whatever,
be in a shower
man. He was a
walking
new
around.
kid. He was
I'm
fighting the
sorry.
whole dojo.
Listen,
Listen, man, we know what my cousin did. He was fine. He was all alone.
Ralph
he was
Macchio is a
scared.
phenomenal. He's a legend. I love the guy, but Daniel LaRusso had it coming.
Actually, you know what? That's what's great.
And it was an illegal kick to the face he won on.
Yeah, but so was the fucking elbow to his knee. But we don't need to talk about that either.
I don't know why
he
that's
should have been
illegal.
disqualified.
Why? It's
Huh?
not the knee. It was
No,
below the belt.
It was an elbow to the knee.
You can do that. You can't kick to the face.
It was intentional.
Yeah.
He did win on an
Too
illegal
bad,
kick to the face.
too bad the directors and writers weren't having this conversation
No,
when they were shooting the movie.
actually they address it in Cobra Kai.
I know.
But
I know.
all jokes aside,
No, it was an incredible series.
but that's
I
what
can't wait.
that's what I love about it is you're rooting for and against both guys.
The scene where Johnny is having that piece of pizza the guy manhandled in the store,
Yeah.
and then when he beats those guys up was one of the best scenes ever. I stood up, I was applauding after that scene. It was fun. I can't wait for season 2 and hopefully beyond. I honestly can't wait for it.
Yeah, he's been talking about that show. He says it's great.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I
Cobra
just
Kai,
can't. I just
YouTube
can't
Red.
believe I did what I did without saying anything.
Well, you know what? You were foolish. You know what? He'll take you back into the fold.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I would have rather,
It cost him a car. Big deal.
no, I don't want to ruin it.
No
There you go.
spoilers.
But no, I all jokes aside, yeah,
No,
Is it going again?
the way that they did it.
It was brilliant.
Yeah,
It really was
we're already in
brilliant.
season 2.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But at the end when who shows up,
Yeah, Crease.
yeah.
Yeah, with his
You
cigar.
keep spoiling. Well, I guess if you haven't watched it yet.
Well,
Well, he's supposed to be
But
dead.
You watch it on YouTube,
right. Well, he wasn't. He
On
was in
YouTube,
Hawaii. He
right.
lost in
Alright.
Karate Kid in the previous Karate Kid with his
But
friend.
didn't they say wasn't he supposed to be dead?
That's
for a
what
while?
because Johnny was under the impression he was because he went to Hawaii.
Right.
And they said he was killed. Remember, he came back and told Mr. Miyagi and Daniel in Karate Kid 3. He said, no, he died.
Yeah.
That was it.
My uncle Louis is dead. He dies in Karate Kid too. They
Right,
show him.
right.
He's like an IMDb
Yeah,
hockey
it's like-
doctor.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you don't understand the stuff that's going on.
And you mentioned Imogen Coca. Imogen Coca, I think she was on Brady Bunch. She played
here
Aunt
we
Jenny.
go.
Oh,
What?
no.
So wait, was
Unwanted
Now
Brady
we're out.
do you
Bunch
remember when
trivia.
they tried to make Brady Bunch a drama?
It was awful. I'm sorry. No, the original series was the best.
But if you think about it, everybody acted like the Brady Bunch were like this cookie cutter family. It's like, no, not really.
No, they weren't.
They
They
were
were like,
both,
no way,
both the parents
It
were
was the
dead.
first.
That's right.
It was the first TV.
It was a blended
parents,
family.
For the first blended family and the first TV parents to sleep in the same bed together.
Yeah, they were freewheeling, man.
Because prior to that, they had slept in separate beds in the same room. Lucy,
Yeah.
the I Love Lucy show, all those shows were the separate beds.
What, they were the first?
They were the first ones to sleep in the same bed.
That's
And
interesting.
they brought their, yeah, it was a blended family.
Blended
brought the
family.
kids. Do we know how the other spouses were out?
Yeah.
They were divorced.
No, they were dead. They were both widowers.
Oh, they weren't one.
Yeah,
Right,
um,
Widowers.
What's his name?
Mike.
Mike Brady.
Yeah.
You can Google this. His wife was a prostitute and a drug addict, and she OD'd and was killed on the stroll.
I thought it was a pressure
And
accident.
then,
On the Brady
and then
Bunch?
Florence Henderson's husband,
Yeah.
he owed money to the mob, and
Right.
they ended up killing him.
Right.
They
But
disappeared
it
him.
got really dark, and then
Yeah.
they pulled back.
He
from
owned.
that.
He also owned a wig shop, but I think got mixed up with.
He got an ice
Yeah.
pick to the back of the
Exactly,
head.
yes.
And people don't know that,
Yes.
but Maury in Goodfellas
Yeah.
is based off of
Carol Brady's
Florence
first
Henderson's
husband,
character. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fact. It's a fact. Look that up
Yeah.
and female concussions in soccer. We this is all we do is drop facts.
Yeah.
That's right, that's the way to be on the Dr. Hockey podcast. We're
Sam
about
the,
the
Butcher,
data.
Sam the Butcher was in the witness protection program.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when he got locked in the freezer?
Yeah, well, Bobby got out because he was smaller.
Yeah, that's right. He crawled in, right?
Yeah,
Something was always up with Bobby. Bobby was hiding something.
I think he was.
No, no. What are you talking about?
It's Bobby.
What made him
No, the
suspect?
one I had the most
A little
problems
too
with
cute.
was Jan.
Kid's a little too cute.
Yeah, she was
Jan
a
never
hater.
said anything, she was.
Always
never-
hating on her hot sister.
She's
Yeah.
definitely the one that's gonna stab you in the back,
Yeah.
for sure. I never trusted anything coming out of Jan's mouth,
No.
the entire time I watched.
Kitty
Straight
Carry
Off.
All, right? That was the
Yeah,
call.
that was the doll.
Cindy. Remember when they had the cousin on, Oliver?
Oliver.
Worst.
That's when they jumped the shark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when.
A cousin. We don't need to see this cousin.
Yeah, it was this blonde kid with glasses
Hard
who
enough time
was
tracking
sleeping
these
in the
kids.
doghouse.
But you're talking about stabbing someone in the back. When Marcia dated Warren Mulaney, who kicked Greg off this, took Greg's spot on the basketball team,
Yeah.
that was not
Oh,
cool either.
That was bad.
Whatever.
And then Marcia's other boyfriend stole the football
That was, I
playbook.
remember that.
Remember Warren Mulaney?
That was
That
really,
was
You remember? You know what? You know why they had Oliver, right?
I don't,
Yeah, both.
thank God.
This you
Thank
can
God.
Google this. Both his parents burned up in a crack.
Hey, Doc, it's
They,
good.
they were freebasing, and then the place went up, and then they took the kid in. And people don't know about the Brady Bunch, man. It was
That's a
dark.
shame.
A lot of, yeah.
It was dark.
And hard times have befallen the Brady Bunch
Yeah.
right there. I don't, that's very dark.
And also, we recently had passing Mrs.
Yeah,
Garrett.
Mrs. Garrett. just
Charlotte
passed.
Ray, unfortunately, she was
Can
everyone.
you name all the maids on different strokes? That's a good one. There's 4. There's actually 3
can't
that
name
we
anybody.
won.
I can name the
On
bully,
different
the
strokes.
gooch.
The Gooch. Who played the Gooch?
What was
Did
his-
they
Jeff
show
Garland.
up?
No. He would have been a good gooch.
I asked him about it. He told me.
Wasn't it Andrew
Carlisle.
Dice Clay? Didn't Andrew Dice Clay? He was like the bully. Remember?
Was he?
Yeah, like he showed
No.
up. I'm pretty
No,
sure.
he was the Vin man from Hot Resort.
No, Andrew Dice Clay. Google this now. Fact check it now. Andrew Dice Clay played a bully. I don't know if it was the Gooch though, but he played a bully on different
different
strokes.
strokes.
He showed up, and he's like, "Hey, it was Dice."
Really?
Yeah. Different strokes. The maids were Adelaide, Mrs. Garrett, Pearl, and then the 4th one technically was Mrs. Jackson, was Arnold's mom.
Right.
That's how we got the kids.
Which one of them liked hockey? That's really what we need to know.
So I
Is
want
that-
to ask you, getting back to hockey.
I think Willis.
Doctor.
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah.
Because we briefly touched on it.
I think they want to talk hockey. We keep
Yeah.
asking
I
them
know,
questions
but no,
about
but
their
we
profession.
briefly touched on it.
Yeah.
Was Dice?
The Peacemaker was the episode.
Dice?
Oh yeah,
Crazy Larry.
There you go.
it was Crazy Larry.
Sean
Okay.
Gosser, thank
Who
you
played
very
the
much for
Gooch?
fact
Sean,
check.
look that up. Who played the Gooch? I think there was like he showed up.
I thought he was an imaginary guy. We
The
never
Gooch?
actually met him.
It was the bully.
Gooch sounds like a drive time morning. You know,
Remember when
part of the zoo crew.
Arnold lied and said he was
We're
gonna
gonna
he was
Dr.
dying?
Hockey, the Gooch.
It's not past the hour. We got the
Go ahead,
Gooch.
Gooch. How you doing?
Gooch is remote at
Yeah,
the.
what's going on? What's going on down there?
Oh, it's just me, the Gooch. We're at the Staples Center. We're trying to talk hockey. Oh, it's a Gooch. But Pete keeps asking questions about plastic surgery.
Yeah, but also Sam. Remember his cousin Sam on Different Strokes? He was like,
Yeah,
he
the
was
little
like
redheaded kid. He was a
like the
generic.
Oliver. He was like
He
the
was a
Oliver.
generic
Right.
Oliver.
I wanted to ask you, as doctors and semi-neurologists, this dude. Do you, well, I mean, you said
Said it
you're
yourself.
Why, wait, hold on, no, why are you disrespecting his credits?
No, because he did.
Like
he
the
just
guy
said
has
that himself.
degrees.
No, you say you're not.
No, I'm a
Nah.
board certified
No,
neurologist.
no, no, you
but I
know
don't-
what you did.
I was going to ask you guys, do you think the NHL is doing enough with the CTE issue?
No,
And like,
no.
Is it an issue?
It
Yes,
is
it's a
an
major issue.
More than football.
And it's a major issue, and it actually hits home. One of the Red Wings players, Johan Franzen, recently just had to call it a career. One of the phenomenal player, and he just had too many head injuries, and he's still suffering the effects to this day. And my heart goes out to the guy because he's a great guy. But some of these players, I just are not equipped to deal with this problem. And I don't think that the NHL has done enough. Listen.
Is it enough to prevent it or to take care of it?
Here's the thing.
Both.
It's both, I agree. But okay, so you have a guy coming down the ice, someone else hits him in open ice or whatever else and hits him from behind and knocks an elbow into the head. Guy gets knocked out or neck's silly, okay, goes out for the thing. What they do in player safety, instead of having a standardized saying, you knock a guy out like that, it's 5-game suspension initially. Next thing it's gonna be 15 games, next thing is 50 games, next thing it's a season. In other words,
And then you're out.
what they'll do is say, the player wasn't hurt that bad, he came back on the ice or he played the next game, it's one game.
They qualify.
They
the level of
qualify
damage.
based on the injury, and
Which is
that is
ridiculous.
so ridiculous.
Right.
Anybody listening to this, part of the NHL Player Association, I'll be happy to testify on your behalf. That is the most inappropriate thing to do. That's like saying to somebody, you know what, he robbed a bank, he only got $5, he spent 5 minutes in jail, no big deal.
I got you.
That's what it stands
Now,
for.
here's my question too, because like in the NFL, I know a lot of the concussion, and again, this is the same stupid article I read, so I'm probably misquoting this, but they said that most of them are because when, not at the impact, but when the head hits the ground.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is that the same thing
it's
with
the
hockey,
soft-
when it hits the,
It's what's called a coup or contra coup injury. So you're hitting the ground, and the back of the head snaps, and again, it's that, basically, I don't get too technical, but the brain has 2 different densities in it. There's a gray matter and white matter. And they travel at different speeds and different velocities. So when one of them when the brain hits, picture like in a jello mold, you have some jello that's a little thicker than the other, and it shears. And it's called diffuse axonal injury. So when people get knocked out, you're actually injuring those neurons and those axons that are coming from those brain cells. So the pathways get disrupted, and if you do that enough, that's where people end up having the depression, dementia, mood swings. I mean, these guys.
what was it, what was the other one, one in the contra one?
Coup and contra, it's called COUP, it's called coup and a contra coup injury.
Well, the contra coup you can prevent by going up, down, left, right, A, B, B, A.
Yeah, contra.
Start, I think, that's the code, right?
That was
So you get 52 new brains, and then you get good.
Well, I was telling you,
Mario Brothers?
No, it was contra, it was a game.
Oh, contra, right.
I was reaching for a bit.
I thought it was the black.
That was
That's
a good-
awful,
no,
I
no.
take that back.
No.
I thought it was the Black
It's out
Knight
there now,
from
it's good.
Dragon's Lair. I thought it was when you did the Black Knight section.
Listen, now,
Left, right, forward, right, left,
Dragon's
forward,
Lair,
forward.
you just, that was the cartoon game.
I spent about $300 on that in the summer, and I finally finished it. I
I
loved it.
was telling Jay,
Dude.
I knew,
Did you really?
I did. My 8th grade summer, I mowed lawns and I everything else, and I say I spent $300 and I
Did you
finished
clear it?
Yeah, finally.
You should have won on Starcade.
Yeah, I love that game. Oh, on WOR?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great show.
Go ahead, what were you gonna say, Pete?
I was gonna say, getting back to the topic.
Getting back to ruining fun.
Right.
Go ahead,
No, I
let's
was
hear what
telling
you're gonna say.
Jay, I knew Steve Monador, when I was friends with him.
Oh,
and,
really? Was this the topic, or you name
No, he had
dropping?
CTE, and he passed away.
Yeah,
So-
Bogosian. I mean, a lot of these guys
So,
are.
and it was, you know, what was
Wait, he
interesting
died?
was, yeah, he was sent out here, the NHL sent him
Yeah.
out here, to see doctors and whatever,
It's okay, you could
and
now.
he was like, one person one day, and then like a different
that
person
sucks.
the next
Because
day.
the
Didn't
thing
that
is,
happen to Junior Seau too? Like,
yeah,
Yeah, I
you
was just gonna
don't
say that.
see the effect.
Say
Now,
out.
in all fairness, now you say to somebody, okay, well, you're going to play a game that's violent, you know some of the risks. And I'm not disputing that also.
right.
But the problem is that the injuries and the problems these guys suffer don't appear until years later.
Right.
And they appear fine, and you know.
But here's the thing, though, if
They
you-
quote, they got your bell rung, and then
I agree with the
Yeah.
stiffer penalties for the cheap shots, like
Yeah.
hockey and stuff, but at the same time, it's unavoidable. And sometimes, like,
Part of
you
the
know,
game.
It is
I
avoidable.
played tight end in high school, but I was a strong safety in college. I prefer as a tight end that I'd rather get a concussion than you take me low and take my knees out. You know what I mean? And what's making it difficult, especially in like football, I mean, look, you could never spear. You're not supposed to lead with your head. And that, like, they called the play against the Ravens. That was such a bullshit personal foul call.
targeting.
But it was
Right.
with his shoulder. And what I'm saying though is that it can actually become more detrimental if people are trying to not get the penalty. They can actually end up hurting themselves.
It's true, and but
So
the
then why even play the game?
Here's,
anymore?
I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is consistency. Consistency of calling the calls.
Yeah.
And also the penalties for those plays. Now, listen, sometimes it's unavoidable, people run into each other, what else that happens. But like, for example, in hockey, they always say, if you see a guy going for the puck in the corner, and you can see his numbers and his name on the back of his jersey, you don't go at him full speed.
Absolutely.
You pull up, but that's not what happens. And you see these guys get planted.
And like you
face
said, they
planted.
get 5 minutes, and that's
Yeah,
it.
they have 5 minutes and they go about their life. The other guy, that's gonna come back at him. and
That's
when he's
right.
40, 45, 50 years old.
He just paid in life units.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Sure, big time.
And so that's the issue, is that, yeah, the guy's okay, he's back out there next week.
Now,
or-
is there anything they could do to not, I mean, it's hard, with people are trying to prevent it, but is there anything to do to, get better?
The only
No,
thing,
is it just
with the
permanent?
Once the damage is
No,
done, and
that's it.
those accidents are injured, these guys need supportive care, they need, so much more than we can give them. Now, they're making some different significant strides in trying to help these guys, but the problem is that once the damage is done, the damage is done. You've gotta be able to then treat the
Yeah.
symptoms appropriately, and, you know, it's a shame, cause these guys sometimes only play for 3 or 4 years, they're 28 years old and they're retiring because of concussions. What are they gonna do?
What are the rules in junior hockey? Are there?
They wear
They wear
face
full
guards,
face
full
mask,
face
and full
masks.
helmet,
Yeah.
and so it's
Now,
very different.
Like the old school guys, some of them didn't even wear helmets.
No, not even until
Some of those guys are grandfathered in.
Yeah.
That was the
Frank
fun time.
McTavish was the last guy
Now,
not to wear a helmet.
was this more of a common problem then with those guys now, or
It
or
was
is it
diff-
just more of a recent thing because of the
Two
athleticism?
things, the
and
game has increased in severity and
Right.
speed, and the game has changed since then. And if you listen to some of the old timers, if you will, that have played, whether it was Gordie Howe, whether it was, Bobby Hull, these guys would say that guys knew when to let up. They knew the pads
Right,
were different,
They played with a little more respect.
the
for each
pads were
other.
like cardboard. Now, the pads are like weapons, there's these hard shell things that are like, what they should do in these.
You ever see them get dressed?
Troy Aikman said
What
something.
the
Troy
fuck?
Aikman
Body
said
armor.
something is take the pads off because I mean once you don't have a helmet on, you're not
100%.
If you don't have a helmet on, you ain't gonna come at
Go
somebody.
back to that leather helmet they had,
Yeah.
and no face guards. In hockey, you leave the helmet on, but you have them wear those thin pads again, they're not gonna use them as a weapon.
Right.
Because they're gonna say, I'm gonna hurt my shoulder. I'm gonna get hurt myself if I do that.
Well,
And that's, I think, where the game has changed.
Yeah.
The stuff they put on now is body armor. I mean, you see them getting dressed, it is.
I got it.
No, go ahead.
Can I? You need help? Can I
No.
watch?
It's intense.
No, they
Go,
put
Dr.
on
Alton.
body armor, they are totally,
They got on,
you can
Teflon.
go into a fight with that stuff on and not get hurt. So that's the thing, is that.
Well, no, there is something too when you play that you feel invincible with the pads on.
Absolutely.
Until you're on the ground throwing up.
Well, I was reading Sean Pronger's book, and Sean was, Chris Pronger was, his younger brother, who went on for, great fame and all that sort of thing, and was one of the, an all-star. Sean, who is his older brother, was a grinder in the NHL, and he talks about, all the times that he went to these AHL teams and basically look at the other side of the ice and see just, a bunch of frickin' brawlers that he
Yeah.
knew. He knew like this game was going to occur in between fights.
Right.
And that was what was happening that night. And
I like
it's
what he
tough.
said though, that there probably was an unwritten code back then.
Oh, yeah.
There's still things like
It
when
makes
we
sense.
were playing too, like you never wanted to take a guy's knees out.
No,
Right.
no, of
Because you
course
don't want to
not.
end his career.
No, you don't want to be that guy.
And if you did, it's like in baseball when, if a pitcher throws, the next guy throws, there was that policing that,
Yeah,
that's right.
It's like comedy, if you know somebody's stealing jokes, sooner or
Ooh.
later you gotta out them.
Right.
You
Yeah.
police, there are those unwritten codes that, should stand where you police yourself with it and whatever that little.
Stealing comedy jokes is like a very big issue. Because
I
people
mean,
think they can get away with that.
Listen, you can have a similar thought, and like I got called out for something that my closer on my 2010 special was close to something similar to Colin Quinn's closer. But the funny thing is, I recorded it in 09, and it came out in 2010.
Oh, no,
His
really?
came out later than mine.
Ah.
So like, there are things where sometimes like you could see something and be like, oh shit, this is, but it's not, it's the same, but it's different.
Right.
Right? That happens a lot. There's another friend of mine that did a joke kind of similar to mine, and then he got called on it, and then I saw it, and I'm like, no,
That's not the joke.
it's not the joke.
Right.
And so that does happen. So you have that going on in comedy a lot, where it's because you're gonna hit something that everybody talks about.
Of course,
eventually.
that's what's going on.
Even if you think it's not. Oh, here's a good example. I have a roller skating bit, okay, where I talk about the old guy at the rink when we were 10.
Hilarious.
And-
Saw it in the Wild West Comedy Show.
And-
Vince Vaughn, right?
Yeah, that's
Dude.
it's you can like YouTube it now. But there's a guy named
Hilarious.
Joe Matarese that's one of my closest friends. Now I had never seen Joe do a roller skating bit. He'd never seen me do it. We'd been doing comedy at the same time, and when I was coming up, I wrote it when I was still in Florida. So there was no way. He has a bit, but it's different with Journey. Okay? So now you have these two comics that don't even know each other. But of course, he grew up in Jersey. I grew up in Jersey. So you have that same
Common
thing.
themes.
But his wasn't about an older guy. So how we handled it was we both did it on a show. We had the audience vote, which was better. Just for the
That's
goof.
funny.
But like you do have that. But then there are those comics that just blatantly fucking take.
They said that about Amy Schumer. I've read a lot on the internet about that. If that's
Well, that was a beef too. And again, I you know.
and I don't really watch her comedy, but I've read that numerous times.
But she also got in trouble, I think, for something with her show where they were taking sketches that they said other people. Somebody did a mashup online.
Have you ever seen anybody in a show do?
There was one I've seen. The only one that I've really seen that was blatant. There was this one guy who there was one of my favorite comics of all time. He passed away. This dude, Mitch Mulaney. There was this guy who was like an attorney from the Bay Area, and he literally did his act word for word after he died. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, you could. They used to be online. I think they removed
Oh
it.
my God.
So Ari Shafir, who's another good friend of ours, did a show at the Improv where like you would do your set and they would sit down and talk to you about it. So this guy destroyed, right? And everybody's laughing. So as he's talking to him, you see the screen come down, and he starts playing Mitch's act,
No way.
and it's word for word.
Busted.
Oh my God.
Oh wow!
It's word for
That
word.
is-
I
love
mean,
when people
word
get,
for
I love when
word.
people get busted with that stuff.
Right.
That's awful.
So I mean, there is that going on, but then you know there are people that are always saying that people are you're gonna get similar bits. It's just gonna be close.
But writing jokes is hard. It is a very
It's a nightmare.
difficult. It's
You
so.
have to layer it,
It's-
and there's different.
It's more just if you're speaking personally, like I tell a lot of personal stories and
Yeah,
stuff,
yours are
and
hilarious.
just stuff that you experience, and then you write in a way that you hope everybody experiences it, and then there are certain unwritten rules that we have. Like if I'm working out a bit, like let's just say I have an idea for a premise, and then I go to the store, then I see another comic on stage doing that premise. Okay. First of all, if he's been doing it a while and I just started it and I didn't know he did it, I'm throwing mine away.
Right. You
Right.
don't want to go down that road.
Well, because now it's like I'm just developing it, and it's a fixture in his act. Why would I even do that? And and sometimes you have a talk where you'll be like, "Yo, I have this idea," and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's I kind of have that similar, but I already put this out." You know what I mean? And then you're like, "Yeah, I don't even want to get caught up in that."
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are starting also trying to work new material, what are your thoughts about people like actually taping and recording? Because people I've heard the comics have said
It's
that
the
it drives
worst.
them crazy.
It's
'cause-
the worst
It's
because
it's only an issue if you're a famous comedian.
Well, no, but even so, I meant like it's look, you want people to enjoy it, but at the same time, you could be releasing something online that, like, especially if you're trying to work a deal. Well, it used to be worse. Now you kind of accept it as part of where the internet is. But like, if I had a special that I'm trying to sell, and then somebody films your act and puts it online, it could have hurt you 5 years ago bad. Because then it's like, yo, they already saw this.
Right.
Right.
So a lot of comics became protective of their material.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, there are videos that go viral that fans have filmed that has helped the career. Now the people that buy specials are just so used to it now.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can still tell them to take it down. Most people are cool.
Well, you had a special on Showtime recently. Is it last year or something?
No, I did. That was a while. I did. I just self-released my special now.
Oh, that's right. knew
I
you had
shot
something
it
going.
myself. One
And you
take.
put it out yourself.
Put it out myself.
There you go.
And so people can go watch it for free. It's at Bret Comedy with one T, BRET comedy.com. But I shot it. I had Neil Brennan help me with it. Petey did help me with the warm up.
Yeah.
But I built the set itself. I did everything.
That's great.
From soup to nuts, one take. I put my own money into it. And I released it for free. And because the goal, well, in the beginning I was shopping it around. I was getting Mickey Mouse offers, whatever. And then there were some people that gave me notes to take this out of that out. And then I'm like, no, can't do that. 'Cause,
Yeah, it's
there's
bad.
some stuff in there that's not, the topics aren't funny, but they're all personal.
But isn't it hard to be a comic nowadays? Everybody's being so PC.
No.
I mean, and
I
so
think-
offended about the littlest things.
I think it's harder for local comics because of the scenes. I was talking about this last night, and a lot of comics respectfully disagree with me, but in my experiences on the road, I'm in 30 something cities a year, you'll see that in some towns where like you'll have groups that are like not booking other comics who they deem is either racist or misogynistic or whatever term you could come up with,
Transphobic is a huge one.
or whatever it may be.
Well,
But
that's just the new one right now.
But
And,
that doesn't affect me.
it could have zero. You could be whatever it is.
Some
it
kind of
could-
label.
It could have no gravity to how you feel about trans people or whatever. But that's like if you
But like
you
if-
didn't call someone a her,
but-
it's a him, it's whatever it was.
Well, it's a shame to be
You-
labeled
you-
like that.
I know,
though,
but dude, it's like
Well, it's the new
Wow.
thing. It's like but again, I've been doing this 21 years, and I had one kid at my show, and I was in San Jose, and I just like he got all upset over something, and I just told him, please blog about me. I need to move tickets.
Right.
But I'm already. It only really affects you if you're trying to grow as a comic and you're getting blocked from stage time.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it is what it
Jerry
is.
Seinfeld will tell you, we can't play college campuses because people
I
are
mean,
out
you
there
can-
protesting and it's
You
just
can,
crazy.
you
Really?
can,
Oh, yeah.
you
You're so
can.
offended by the
it's
littlest things.
a lot
I
different.
think though
for-
it's more of a exaggerated epidemic in a sense where like you do have that, but like I won't do some colleges, they make you sign this contract that you can't say certain things, and then if they're gonna judge you, they might not pay you if they
Oh,
felt,
God.
that type of shit. But I don't have to sign it. I don't have
Right,
to do it.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But again, for the younger people coming up, you don't want to. Comedy's the type of thing where you just got to be honest and it's just it. I think it's exaggerated though. I mean, look, you get these two groups of people. Me personally, I'm seeing this more. He'll disagree with me, but I just in my 21 years of doing stand up, it's more of the progressive people that are more. They're like the new religious right, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Where
Sure.
like they're the ones that are making all the noise now. Where
Well,
when I
it's
first
all about
started, it
policing
was
it.
yeah. When I first started, it was more about
It's the crazies that get all the
sexual
attention.
jokes and stuff that you like. I could make fun of Christianity, and the religious right wouldn't ban me for that. But if I was doing like 30 jokes, or you know what
Yeah,
I mean, they would
right.
get upset. And now it's more like people are trying to police speech. But again, it doesn't affect me.
Mm.
But the younger comics, I can see it affecting their growth, not their popularity,
Sure.
but their growth as an artist.
Right.
So that would be, and then we have the concussion problem too. And
A lot
comedy.
of comics are getting concussions.
Oh, tons, man.
I know. Well, the stage is
Throwing drinks at you.
brick wall behind the stage. You can't see what's going on.
But,
Has anybody actually thrown rotten vegetables at you on stage? Like you ever seen them?
Fozzie Bear did that one time.
Have you ever had anything thrown at you on stage?
No, I've had a couple of people get loud. I think you had a couple of those.
Yeah. I had a full can of beer thrown at me once.
Really?
Yeah.
At least it was a can, not a
Like a
bottle.
full can.
Did it hit you?
I was like, the
Who's
club
that?
wasn't even serving cans. I was like, where the hell did you get this?
Were you
can?
at Bob's Country Bunker?
No, dude, it was a full can of beer, and it wasn't open yet. It was.
Come on, you missed that one?
No, I did miss that one. The Blues Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the chicken wire.
We're the good old boys,
Yeah.
exactly.
I was just.
We got
I
both
mean,
kinds.
country
Country
and
and Western. That's right.
Yeah, I dropped that one. I was still thinking about something. Like I just zoned out again. That's the ADD. You guys can fix that?
We can fix whatever you need. That's right.
Keep cracking here and make me pay attention.
ADD is
There's
tough.
one thing I want to do. Have you guys ever partied with the cup? With the Stanley Cup?
Oh,
I do.
there.
Let's tell some
Here's
Stanley
a
Cup
very,
stories.
here's a very illegal
Wait,
photo.
by the way,
of
I'm
Jason,
pretty
by the way.
sure Pete is setting you up
No,
so
I
he can
partied
tell
with
his
the cup.
story
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
See,
No.
that's how he works.
Yeah.
He's not interested to hear if you did this.
Wow, that's
This
how,
is
that's,
his
that's
way.
how a podcast works.
No, no.
Trying to guide us into the new.
Oh, really? Because it's your show. You guys need guiding. You have 20,000 more listeners than we do, but we need guiding.
You never find the picture when you
I
want
don't
it,
think we
right?
have 20,000 more listeners
No.
than you.
So, it's- but
That'd be good. We'd love that.
See, when you guys were in the green room, I was trying to explain to you this about Pete. Pete has
Ah.
the greatest life.
We have a green room?
No, when they were at the
Well,
show.
Oh, I was thinking about
we
the,
were,
we have a
uh,
green room here.
This kid got the greatest life you've ever heard. There is,
Really?
and by the way, not full of shit.
Really?
Yeah, it'll be just like what's gonna happen now. The kid can't throw a
I
baseball.
wanted to,
All right.
How's that possible?
No, I'm saying kid.
You and
kid,
Baba Booey, you can't throw a
kid
baseball.
can't.
I can throw a
I'll
baseball.
rephrase that. Can't skate if his life depended on
yeah,
it.
that's more like.
But he partied with whoever won the Stanley Cup
Right, yeah.
every year in a row.
How
He'll
is
tell you a
that
story where he got in a fist fight, and him and Wayne Gretzky
Dude,
were at a
look at that
bar.
outfit.
There's always
I was a
something.
resident, and it's 1997,
I know
and I had a
people
beeper.
And now who had the cup at this point?
So after they won, the Red Wings won the cup in 1997.
By the way, Pete, that's the same
That's
cup
a
you
great-
partied
that's a
with.
great photo.
You know that.
Yeah.
That's the same
That's
cup.
such an illegal photo. Do you know
I
why?
bet you didn't even know that.
Why?
Because you can't lift the cup over your head unless
And
you've won the
unless you
Stanley
won
Cup.
it, and you were like, F it.
Dude, they keep your mouth shut. You don't get
No,
nobody in
that was
trouble.
with the disposable
You're like-
camera, that's before cell phones.
Yeah, you're like,
But I'm
screw
saying,
it.
whoever gave you that thing could get in
He
trouble.
doesn't care, he just wants
No.
the structure.
It was
No,
once in a
he
lifetime.
shared.
He stole
Yeah, but
it,
I'm saying if that's legal for you to do.
he stole it out of the party.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Ran outside.
No, not exactly, but it would have been a better story if I did that. No,
He
my,
did.
my
That's what
friend
happened.
lived next door to one of the Red Wings who was unfortunately injured in an accident after they won the cup in '97. Like dramatically injured, it was horrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Vladimir Konstantinov. And, but the next door neighbors, they had a party
He knows
with
that
the
guy.
cup
Go ahead.
in 1998, when I was in residency. My friend called me up, said they're having a cup at my friend, my girlfriend's house, you should come by. So I went over there with my disposable camera I got from pharmacy, whatever it was. I took a couple pictures posing with it, said you can't put it over your head. You can drink champagne out of it, but you can't put it over your head. So we're hanging out, whatever, we're getting ready to leave. The guy takes care of the cup.
That wasn't good enough for you?
No,
You had to fucking do that.
yes,
You know what?
We gotta post this photo.
Yeah,
it's on there, it's on the documentary.
That's a
Oh
dick
my
move.
God.
That's
So-
it. That's what you do. You give a doctor an inch, and they take your assignments.
So the guy that takes care of the cup was outside hosing out the champagne. He puts the cup down to put the hose back, and that's when I walk out. I said, I'm never getting another chance in my life at this.
No, you're not.
I said to my friend Mark, I said, grab my camera, took the picture. The guy started screaming at me, yelling at me. I didn't deserve it. Who do you think you are? I mean, obviously, expletive laced
And
screaming at me.
and they haven't won. Oh,
No, they won 2 more since then.
That would've been awesome.
great.
That would've
was
been
the
great.
curse.
That's the fucking-
You're the curse of the
perfect match.
Bambino.
That's right.
You cursed the Red Wings with a disposable camera?
With one of the Polaroid flashes on it. Whatever that
They
was.
won 2 more and would have won a 3rd one
If you had to raise your goddamn cup over
in
your head.
2009.
But the corollary to that story is that there is now a restraining order by the
Yes.
Stanley Cup against Jason Berkeley. He
Yeah.
can't be within
Is that for
100
real?
feet of it. That's the truth. You
Oh.
can't be within 100 feet of this cup. It's
All right,
So,
everybody-
That's like Oliver's parents dying in the crack accident.
Take a second, everybody take a second, and listen to probably what will be one of the greatest stories you've ever heard.
Don't build up like that. That's a very cool, you know.
By the way, you
able to-
could get somebody in trouble, and if I think it is who you think it is, and we can't say nothing,
What?
if you were partying with the cup, unless you were allowed to.
No, I was allowed to party with the cup.
Okay, got
I
it.
wasn't like, you know, doing lines with the cup.
No restraining order on it.
Yeah.
Pete's clear.
Is that what I meant? I don't want to
He's
get
good.
anybody in trouble that if I'm thinking it's the same person.
Oh, no.
Okay, go ahead.
No. Oh, no, but what I was gonna say is, I've heard cool stories though, you know, when.
And here is one.
Each player gets the cup or
Right.
whatever, and, there's a player, I'm gonna, is it Sean O'Donnell or Sean O'Connell or something like that? He was like he played
Sean
like-
Connery?
He played kind of all over the place. Anyway, he was telling me a story one time where, you know, he would always, he grew up Canadian. He would always take this trip to the pond to go, you know, play.
I love how you're using the
and-
European terms.
What?
The pond.
No, that's what they call pond
Oh, I
hopping.
thought you meant flew over to
No.
England. Okay, go ahead.
This is
He's
great.
being a fancy lad.
Yeah.
No, I gotta stop. Go ahead.
No, but he
I
would
like
always
the-
take this walk with the neighborhood, you know, kids to, you know, to the pond, and he went home to see his dad and his day with the cup, and he took the cup from his house and he walked it, and all the neighborhood kids walked with the Stanley Cup to the pond they all play at, and I was
That's
like,
cool.
dude, that is
And then
cool.
one kid fell in the pond,
Exactly.
and then Phil Collins wrote a song about
No,
it.
Right.
my fun with the cup, the first time I met Stanley the cup.
The first time?
Yeah.
There's more than one.
I did twice. Was when the Kings won in 2012. I had a show called Beecher's Madhouse at the Roosevelt Hotel, and it was the Kings won at Staples, and they all came over to my show, and it was and the Beecher's Madhouse. It's like kind of like a, you know, it's like a variety show with midgets and all sorts of crazy stuff happening.
We like to refer to them as little people.
Little people,
Yes.
little people. We literally had a
That's
flying.
the M word.
Yeah. Well, we break that rule all the time.
I got you.
But we
Little kids.
Wait, wait, Pete.
we would have a flying midget bartender.
Pete, can I just?
Yeah.
You got to preface something else.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're like Willy Wonka.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not just one little person friend.
Yeah.
He's got like 30 of them
Yeah.
that you hang out
Very-
with.
Yeah. It's like a big
It's the greatest
posse.
thing you've ever seen.
It's a big
Right,
party.
we
And
were
they're
talking
dra-
about this. This was like Little Kiss,
Yeah,
Little
Little-
He
Bon Jovi.
created Little Kiss, Little
Little
Bon
Kiss, Little Bon
Jovi,
Jovi.
Little Bruce Springsteen for you
Yeah.
that
Really?
you've never seen.
Little Kanye West, the littlest, biggest dickhead in the world.
That's him. That's it. That's the guy. He's the commandant.
That's
The Midnight
that's
Defy.
Yeah. But
Just
they-
have Tommy come in. All right, go
The
ahead.
Kings came. So our show, we would open the doors around like 11 or so, 11:30. So the Kings came with the cup, and the NHL had. So there was a curfew on the cup that night because of I think where they were, because the guy came in. It was the guy who was escorting the cup or was in charge of the cup. he just saw what we were doing and where it was, and it was just, and it looked crazy, and he was just like, listen, we got
This
it.
isn't a place for the cup.
Yeah, and he was like, and he kind of said, I think he put the curfew.
The cup needs to go home.
Guys, can you do me a favor, can you take the cup off the craps
That's
table?
right.
Can you please take the cup off the craps table?
It was like, and this is like 12. It was like a little after 12, and I think the guy said he was like, look, 12:30. He's like, we got to, take a couple photos. We gotta get out of here. So the guy who was like sort of managing the cup kind of gave us the curfew of 12:30. We're like, all right, cool. And then I just went over to him and I was like, listen, man, I go, the guys just got here. I'm like, let me grab, a couple security guys from the Roosevelt Hotel. And, I just tried to calm this guy, be like, listen, let these guys have a good time. Like, because I know if the cup goes, like, they're gonna wanna leave with the cup and, they just have the cup. So, so long story boring, as Bret would say, half hour later, there's a midget inside the cup.
Yeah, dog.
Holding like champagne. Chuck Liddell was like bench pressing. He was like on his back, like bench pressing it. It was like this insane
Pandemonium.
thing. And like pandemonium. And then I look back at the guy who was responsible for the cup, and he just gives me a look, and I was like, I tried, man. I don't know.
The good news is there was cookies in the cup.
Yeah.
He probably looked at you as like
Dude, it was the first night.
disappointed in
Yeah,
you, Pete.
yeah, oh yeah.
Pete, you're supposed to watch
But
this.
the first night that LA had the cup, like we partied with it at our show, which
That's
is awesome. And then the second time was when they won in 2014. They all came to Beach's Madhouse when they got back in town, and
It became a tradition,
yeah,
right?
they became
That's hilarious.
yeah, and it's great. And then the same guy was in charge of the cup. 2 years later, from 2012, when he came back in
He
2014.
got his job back?
And he was like, yeah. It was
He was like, not
he was
again.
like, this is not happening again, bro. He's like, this is not happening again. And that night, Miley Cyrus was doing some funny stuff to the cup.
There you go.
Yeah, she was making out with it. And,
What'd she do? She made out with the
she
cup?
was making out with the cup. She was like looking at me.
Well, I'm
all
sure the
sorts of
cup gets a
crazy
lot of
stuff.
abuse.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
It was Alex.
That cup has HPV, you know it
There's
does.
It's got everything.
It's got everything.
Absolutely.
Thing's loaded.
Alex Ovechkin was spooning with the cup in one of the photos recently. I thought that was a great one.
I almost ran off with it. I was this close to maybe taking off, like in Tanner Boyle.
I wish you did.
Like, I'm telling you,
Which-
there should be a restraining order.
But your beeper went off.
You remember that? Remember Tanner Boyle?
He was gonna run away with the cup.
He got paged 143 from his girlfriend.
Do you remember?
Remember
that?
beeper code?
Yeah.
Yeah, 823. Think
Remember
of it?
Tanner Boyle ran away in
Oh, I'm sorry.
breaking training?
Yeah.
And they couldn't catch
There
him?
you go.
That's what I wanted to do with it. Let them play. Let them play.
Unbelievable.
So were you at were you a drug dealer or were you a doctor at the time when you had your beeper?
It was the house beeper and I needed to have it because I was on call.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Do doctors still use beepers or no?
Well,
Rarely,
these cell phones,
rarely.
guy.
Cell phone.
There's sometimes beepers for like stroke call or whatever else, but I don't deal with any of that anymore. But there are some beepers for certain
I think
things.
some beepers still kick it around.
Because they get to have to pass it to the other resident or whatever. Most of the residents do.
Right,
I
yeah.
had a beeper.
Yeah,
of course. It's a
Different
big deal.
How you
reasons.
doing? God, that seems like yesterday.
It's a-
Never mind.
Yeah, we remember the beepers. I think I
10
got
years
rid
ago
of
or
mine
so?
about 2002 or 3.
Yeah.
Here's a good question, because I said it will be. You know how chefs carry around their own cutlery? Do you guys carry around like your own scalpels and shit? Your own scapadels?
Yeah, if we're going to,
Like,
we're
you have
going
your own
someplace,
little-
I got my own instruments. You
God,
bet.
look at that. That was a good
Go
question.
ahead.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
no,
That
you
wasn't a
need
bad
to.
question.
That's a
That's
great
cool.
question because
Okay.
you don't want to have like the garbage that they have available for you to do your work.
Right.
So like they have loaner scalpels where you're like,
Well, you use a scalpel for 3-4 cuts and you get a new one thrown away.
Yeah.
You know?
Really?
Is that, I guess that doll.
they don't have to sharpen them like you're nothing
No
like that?
sharpened, they're
Disposable
That's it.
scalpels?
$5 a box.
We gotta get in the scalpel business.
I know, man.
Scalpel's a good business to be in. They go up and they're very expensive. You know.
What's a scalpel run you nowadays?
Well, I mean, the blade I think is about 25 cents and probably cost them a penny to make them. The tiny little stainless steel blades.
It's like soda. They don't charge for the
Big
Yeah.
upcharge.
Now, what about the scalpel? So you just
You
throw the
get a
blade
handle.
out?
Yeah, we.
Oh, but you keep the
we
handle.
run the handle. That's right.
All right, never
The
mind.
handle-
Can't cancel the scalpel business.
I
I thought you were
think so.
I thought you were making $20.
There are disposable
every
ones.
time.
No,
No,
I'll
we're
sell it.
talking in change.
I'll put a Japanese name on it and up the price.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Did Pete ever tell you
That's a
when
Nacho Mito?
he hung out with the guy who created the scalpels?
The Scapadel.
Scalpels?
Well, you know,
we're definitely gonna be getting back into the hockey season soon. We don't have any, like, right now, we're just kind of, we talk about
Come on,
trades, we
football.
talk
We
about
talk
stuff
about
that-
Buffalo,
You
how
guys-
Buffalo's gonna be good now.
You
Yeah,
guys
we did.
lost a
Somebody-
great today. Did you hear about
Yeah,
the?
it's Dan Nikita. Stan Mikita.
Oh, no
He's-
way.
he's-
Yeah,
he's
Stan
like
Mikita
a-
passed away.
He's pretty
I didn't know
legendary.
that.
Legendary, yeah.
I didn't
Passed
know,
away.
I was in the OR all day.
78
Yeah.
years old,
Yeah.
he was legendary Blackhawk.
Yes.
You know,
He
feel really
was.
feel bad about that. I saw that earlier in
That's
the
a
day.
big game.
We've lost some hockey players this summer, actually.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a tough summer.
Yeah.
But you ever know,
Right.
maybe I'm wrong about this, but I never see hockey players get in trouble off the ice,
Yeah, you
like
do.
every other sport.
Patrick Kane
Do they
did.
really?
Few and far
Yeah,
between.
Evander Kane did.
Because I figure like they're getting all their violence out during the game,
Yeah.
they want to
There's
go
been
home
some
and
most part,
relax.
There have been some
You know what I
guys,
mean?
but it's not as widespread, I think is the best way of putting it.
Uh-huh.
But there's been a couple guys that have been,
It's not as widespread. It's not as urban, and they don't have this like.
I'm not
They're
saying
not.
that at all.
They're not showing up to.
Well, they are Canadian.
I know. but they're not getting busted for a gun in their sweatpants in a nightclub.
I-
You
No,
know what I mean?
definitely not.
Yeah,
No, that's not
that's
that.
not how they roll.
I don't know about that.
They drink too much and pass out.
Yeah.
I don't know about
They
that.
drive drunk like men.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
That's what they do.
They probably do some of that, but they, you're right, they don't get in the.
Has there any
trouble
hockey
of it.
player committed like mass murder or like murder or anything? Has that ever popped
No.
up?
there have been some incidents on the ice that have cost people.
On the
Okay,
ice,
I'm not talking about like a dude like
And then-
taking out his family or something.
No,
You know what I mean? Or something awful.
I haven't really heard about that.
no, I mean, that, you're
Because
right.
baseball players are really. I think it's a different temperament. You know, I mean, we're
Has
playing.
any sports figure mass murdered? Like in any
Oh,
sports?
there's been a bunch that Ray Caruth killed his wife when
Oh,
she was
yeah.
pregnant. You
Yeah.
know, there's been a bunch of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there've been, who was the WWE guy? He killed his
Oh,
family.
Chris Benoit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That was
Yeah.
awful. He was steroid rage and just went
Yeah.
bananas and killed his kids and his wife. It was horrible. But no hockey.
Okay,
players.
guys, on
I think
that
we're
note-
good. It's really an uplifting moment.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So, did you really like Cobra Kai?
That's the thing with the CT though. It's
Yeah, you
they're-
don't know.
The brain is like
Well, that's what Junior Seau. I mean, he was. His
Dude, I
brain
saw
did not
Junior
work.
Seau a couple months before he killed himself,
Oh, here we go.
and he was like,
He was a beach
he was drinking
Right.
like a fish. He was drinking like a
Big fish in
fish,
the cup.
and was like sort of like he was.
Well, the
like,
problem is
he
that
was
if
like
you-
all over the place.
when you injure the frontal lobe, which is what can kind of controls our impulses, if you will. Okay, so when you get that frontal lobe injured, people tend to lose the ability to govern themselves, to
Dude,
act
this guy
according
was
to norms in
grabbing
society.
asses and
That's my point. is
Yeah,
that they
that,
lose,
that's a frontal lobe
but
issue.
at
right
like
there.
at like
Yes.
at
and
like
also
those-
rage is a frontal lobe. It's what separates us from the animals.
So
to
then
be able to know what our-
maybe that's my excuse then.
yeah.
Well, that's when
But this
when
is
you
a-
get drunk, the
Frontal lobe
frontal
injury?
frontal lobe gets
It's
affected.
not
when
the
you're drunk.
alcohol. It's not the way I grew up.
And this was at like a Chargers thing. Like
Yeah.
like there were Chargers.
Wait, what were
like,
you doing at
front
the
office
Chargers
people
thing?
There.
Were you doing something there?
No, I was like emceeing
Who were you
something.
hanging
Hey,
out with?
shouldn't
Drew
have been
Brees
that.
at the time?
No.
Who were you
But
with?
he was
Phillip
like, dude,
Rivers?
this guy. It was the middle of the day, and this guy was drinking and like touching women's
So,
butts.
yeah.
All right,
And, like, it was crazy.
Come on, man. You know what, dude?
What?
You're just saying things now. You can't say.
Why?
You can say that. That's what he was
CTE,
doing.
yeah.
He knows what he did.
Did you see that guy that grabbed a butt in the restaurant?
Oh, yeah,
and
then he got-
the
he
waitress
got slammed,
jacked him.
yeah.
That was awesome.
He had CT after that.
Yeah, he did. He got pounded, man.
That's the way
server-
that should be handled.
You should have seen that. Did you see that video?
Yeah, of course.
Oh my god, it
Pieced
was
him.
great. It was huge.
She
And then he-
pieced him.
and by the
Grabbed
way-
him by the collar. And then and you know what made her even more dope? She's like, it was dealt with.
Yeah, like I handled it.
Yeah.
And then he got arrested because he was with his wife and kids, and walked past her and grabbed her butt,
Yeah.
and she jacked him. That was
That's
pretty sweet.
amazing.
I was pretty into that.
It's like,
Wait, he was with her with.
He was with his wife
He's
and
like
kids. He was
Clark
walking back
Griswold.
to
Oh
the
my
breakfast
God.
table with his wife and kids.
it's like
He
Clark
grabbed that
Griswold in
girl's
the car
ass.
when he saw Christy
Who do you
Brinkley.
think you? What world are you
This is
living in?
crazy. This is crazy. This is
Right.
crazy.
This
Goes
guy's
there
thinking
and
from
then
the
boom.
1950s.
He got crossed,
That's
broke his jaw.
insane.
Yeah, she really jacked
Hey,
him.
come here, Dame. Let me goose ya.
Yeah, it's like seriously.
Hey, what's a hot dame like you working at this speakeasy?
Yeah.
See? Man, those are some nice yams. Let me goose ya. Man, you hit me with the 1-2 skidoo, did you? Alrighty, I had it coming. I had it coming, I did. Wow, you're one tough day.
Bronx tough.
Wow. Where'd you grow up, the Bowery? I used to date dames like you. Hey, tough cookie, see? Now, how'd you like to come home with me and my wife and kids? Like, what was that move supposed to be? Like,
I have no idea what he was thinking.
Was he hammered?
It was breakfast.
I saw the video.
Yeah,
It
too many
looked like- it
pancakes.
looked like-
It was breakfast.
Too many pancakes.
Guy just got back from church on a Sunday.
It was, basically.
His wife's
yeah.
drinking endless
I didn't
mimosas.
realize he was with his wife
Yeah, it
and
was. It
kids.
was
I
pretty,
mean,
where's
I
that
mean,
going?
either way, it's not a good move to make, but
Well,
geez.
unless you don't know what they're into.
He was
She could have been like,
he was inviting
she
her.
could have been like eating the eggs, going, "You see that waitress over there? Go make your move." He's like, "You think?" He's
It's
like,
like,
"Yeah."
oh, I don't know what he was
He's
doing.
like, "What should I open with? Just grab her